Ren Suo wakes up thinking about the console he has waited so long to receive, then discovers that the delivery has finally reached his door. At last, the coveted Hell 4 gaming system is supposedly his. Ren is a healthy college senior whose greatest wish is unlimited gaming time. He lives in a cheap rental while graduation and the job market loom ahead, and has poured his internship savings into the promise of blockbuster entertainment. Instead of a console, however, the package contains a strange metal canister. Twisting the lid releases a cloud of suspiciously luxurious blue smoke, followed by an absurdly intricate cylinder hidden inside. Apparently, even the packaging wanted to feel like the protagonist. A black striped sphere rests at the center, and it resembles no version of the Hell 4 Ren has ever seen. Its seams are practically invisible, so Ren contacts Hell Games and demands an explanation. Customer service says a coupon error upgraded his order by mistake. He has 7 days to test the product before returning it, although this mysterious sphere appears nowhere in the company's catalog. With no cables, sockets, or controllers, it looks like very expensive trash. A second courier soon knocks at Ren's door, this time carrying the genuine Hell 4 Pro. The unexplained sphere now seems far more suspicious, though its smooth design could at least serve as decoration. Then the Hell controller powers on by itself, displaying a brilliant title screen for Small World. The devices pair automatically and ask Ren to create an account. Such impossible wireless compatibility suggests either a prototype or an elaborate fraud. The sender identifies itself as Nether Company, a name with absolutely no trace online. Ren overlooks every warning sign and proceeds with registration. He enters the alias Ren Nether, so any future spam will be easy to trace. A burst of light scans him from head to toe, saving both his physical body and soul as player information. The sphere then opens on a vast cosmic welcome screen. For such a shady machine, the interface is remarkably refined. It offers Ren a choice between the World Store and a beginner guide. The guide recommends trying the free game of the week. Ren expects some cheap little puzzle but checks the World Store first anyway. Searching requires merit points, and the console wastes no time mocking him. It calls him poor without bothering to explain how payments work. Ren swallows the insult and chooses the complimentary title. The unfamiliar game is simply named Hitman. Since none of his purchased blockbusters are available, he starts the download. The description promises an assassin RPG built around bullet time, plus a one-star scenario called Bloodbath Banquet that disappears after 14 hours. The installation finishes with alarming speed, which makes Ren notice one crucial detail. He never gave this console his Wi-Fi password. Even so, he launches the game and enters a rain-soaked city street. Its visuals embarrass every modern benchmark he knows. This supposed free minigame clearly has AAA production values. The default character is a bald professional assassin. His complementary ability is bullet time, which alters the flow of time. A clown hitman transformation costs 30 merit, and the Demon Hunter sword technique carries the same price. Only the bald hitman is included for new players. Ren refuses to spend valuable currency on temporary content, so he localizes the avatar, calls him Hitman, and begins. The first person he meets is a drunk who accuses him of stealing alcohol. The man throws the opening punch, making a truly disastrous NPC career choice. Hitman answers with a blade and ends the ambush, after which the real infiltration assignment appears. Reach the Lamperouge banquet on Blackthorn Building's 8th floor. Wealthy guests receive painstaking attention from bunny-suited hostesses, making a discreet entrance almost impossible. Sure enough, the staff immediately asks for his invitation. 4 responses offer variations on violence, bribery, and deception. Ren's empty wallet steers him toward the free manager bluff. Hitman claims he must deliver urgent paperwork upstairs, only to learn that access closed at 1800. Evidently, Lamperouge owns the entire building, and the first attempt ends at the front door. Reloading merely causes the guards to recognize him. One seizes Hitman by the tie, and Ren frantically hammers the controller. His avatar responds by smashing the guard into the floor. A second guard runs to summon reinforcements, while the game offers options to loot, drag, or hide the body. Ren naturally chooses the loot. A gamer never ignores free equipment. He gains some gear just as the entire building goes on alert, and an armed unit promptly turns Hitman into Swiss cheese. The checkpoint returns him safely to the alley. From there, Ren tries every remaining conversation choice. Saying he forgot documents earns him a courteous escort, followed by another failure when bureaucracy defeats him. Open aggression summons the guards and ends just as badly. Pretending to be family only produces an expensive demand for money. In short, every front entrance response is useless, and the helpful clown disguise remains locked behind a paywall. The manager story will only work if Ren improves his timing. He wastes money testing the last choice as well, then circles around the building and discovers armed patrols. Several deaths later, he finally develops a workable route. He repeats the manager excuse and accepts an escort, waits for the other guards to lose interest, and ambushes his isolated guide. Using the stolen radio, Hitman draws another guard closer. He closes the distance before an alarm can be raised, then drops the man with a fast combination of strikes. Ren presses a single button while Hitman performs the full choreography. At the next prompt, the assassin strips the unconscious guard and takes his tactical uniform. Properly disguised, he strolls toward the looming Gothic tower with fresh confidence. A bunny hostess stops him at once and asks what happened to his partner. Hitman waves her aside with a casual excuse about going indoors. His unfamiliar voice gives him away, and the arriving backup guns him down. Ren sighs from the couch and decides to test the rear entrance. He circles behind the tower and has Hitman knock out the first sentry, then drive the second guard face first into the rain-soaked pavement. The back door is locked, but a flash of lightning inspires a solution. Hitman times his punch with the thunder, hiding the sound of a window breaking. He vaults through the shattered frame on the upper floor, touching down on polished wood amid a quiet spray of glass. After brushing himself off, he strides along the bright, ornate corridor. A heavy door opens directly in his path and brings him to a halt. Black-suited gunmen emerge and demand to know why he is there. Hitman raises his hands and invents a story about needing fresh clothes. To Ren's surprise, the smoking leader simply waves him onward. Ren cheers when he understands that the indoor and outdoor security teams are separate. The hostesses know the regular guards, but neither group recognizes the suited mercenaries. These men must be special bodyguards hired for the evening, which makes them ideal for a bluff. Controller in hand, Ren grins and prepares to steer Hitman into the unavoidable fight. After bypassing security, the assassin changes into a stylish suit and joins the elegant banquet. The unusually open-ended objectives leave Ren unsure what to do next. His phone reveals that the mission follows real time, giving him precisely 10 minutes to prepare. A search of the tables turns up nothing deadlier than flimsy silverware. Hitman then collides with a wary guest in a tailored brown suit. Brushing against him activates a concealed detection ability that searches the stranger's pockets. The system outlines a fully automatic handgun beneath the man's jacket. Anyone secretly armed at this celebration immediately qualifies as suspicious. Ren smiles. One quick robbery could satisfy both objectives at once. Moving into range starts a 7-second timer during which Hitman must remain still. The suspect walks off before it completes and disappears into the crowd. Ren shadows him patiently, searching for a clean opportunity. Instead, the guest stops, turns, and challenges Hitman about the pursuit. His question sends the suspicion gauge straight to its limit. Hitman responds by bumping another attendee and spilling her wine. The furious woman launches into a noisy lecture about his appalling manners. Ren marvels at how naturally the NPCs react to this improvised disturbance. A waiter hurries over to clean the spill, drawing attention toward the angry crowd. That gives Ren a revelation: he can manufacture his own openings. Hitman deliberately crashes into the blue-suited suspect to begin the theft. The startled man splashes red wine across a neighboring guest, creating enough confusion for the countdown to finish. Hitman quietly steals a suppressed pistol and several magazines without being noticed. Celebration must wait because a powerful hand grips his shoulder. The armed suspect takes him hostage and orders him outside. He marches the restrained assassin away from the crowded hall, warning him against interfering in the affairs of the elite. A nearby crash distracts the captor and opens a counterattack prompt. Ren hits the command without hesitation. Hitman ducks beneath the man's arm and twists free of his hold. One point-blank bullet through the captor's head settles the matter. A system message then explains that the real assignment is a dangerous escort mission. Hitman races along the corridor toward a hostile mercenary unit. They spot him, lift their weapons, and begin firing. The tutorial advises Ren to activate his assassin's defining bullet time ability. Time crawls, and the path of every incoming round glows on the screen. Hitman slips between the bullets while carefully placing his return shots. The remaining mercenaries panic and scramble behind cover as their numbers fall. Ren celebrates, delighted that this tactical game can also make him an action hero. His assassin dives through a doorway and shoots as gunfire closes in from every side. Mid-leap, however, bullet time runs out and leaves him exposed. A storm of lead tears through the avatar and brings up yet another death screen. Ren groans, stunned by how quickly his supposedly broken ability emptied. He loads the checkpoint at the banquet entrance, knowing he must ration his limited instinct points throughout the firefight. Oddly, several guests are already tagged with vivid red danger markers when he returns. Ren realizes that intelligence gathered in earlier attempts survives a reload. He avoids the known threats and recovers the suppressed pistol with ease, then bumps into unfamiliar guests until every danger in the room is identified. Studying the hall, Hitman chooses a strong position for alternating between cover and gunfire. As the clock reaches 8, he draws his pistol and prepares for the chaos. A thunderous explosion in the next room announces the beginning of the battle. One nervous assassin calls it the signal and reaches for his weapon, but a stray round kills him before he can aim. Within moments, concealed killers all across the corridor turn their guns on one another. Hitman shelters behind a thick pillar while bullets tear apart the luxurious dining room. Terrified guards shout into their radios for reinforcements. The crisis worsens when automatic rifle fire starts chewing through the walls. Ren now knows that assault weapons were hidden beneath the tables, so he needs a different plan. The banquet erupts again as the assassins begin eliminating one another. Across the room, a rival pours out sustained fire from an assault rifle. Hitman dives for shelter while stray shots pulverize the plaster around him. An unexpected burst catches him in the open and sends him back to the death screen. Ren only grins. Discovering that such powerful weapons can be stolen makes the failure worthwhile. On the next reload, all 15 targets and their hidden weapons remain highlighted. He quickly finds a Steyr AUG concealed beneath one of the dining tables. Hitman retrieves it moments before the shooting starts and turns the stealth job into open warfare. When the first shot rings out, he lets the rifle roar and wipes out the rival assassins. Security finally arrives to investigate the eerie quiet and finds a hall full of bodies. Armed guards surround Hitman and begin a tense interrogation with a 10-second response timer. Ren examines the choices and decides that the aggressive third answer plainly invites a fight. He picks the second, claiming Hitman was employed to protect their target. The wary butler orders his men to take the assassin into the restroom. There, a sharp chop to the neck renders the avatar unconscious. The screen fades to black and declares the mission failed, so Ren reloads again. He returns to the same confrontation with the armed security detail. This time he chooses the first response and poses as the lady's devoted admirer. The romantic claim makes the skeptical butler hesitate and break into a sweat. An extravagant confession of love somehow earns Hitman a place in the frontline defense. The butler warns that attackers have entered the lower floors and planted explosives. Before he can finish, a tremendous blast rips through the upper stories. Hitman springs into motion and pours automatic fire down upon the intruders. He cuts through them before anyone can arm a grenade, sliding over the floor to dispatch the last squad with clinical accuracy. The old butler is left speechless, no longer certain that this fighter is even human. His amazement unlocks a special response where Ren can name Hitman's faction. Ren is thrilled to learn that the text can be customized. The entry field already contains his default account name, Ren Nether. Scratching his head, he searches for something that sounds suitably impressive. Blurring game and reality, Hitman announces that he belongs to an organization called Xiangong. The butler believes him and promises a generous reward if he continues protecting the family. With his cover established, Hitman shoots his way through the remaining attackers. Police units and military helicopters finally surround the skyscraper. Knowing the operation is failed, the surviving killers scatter before SWAT can enter. Ren slumps on the couch, sweating after 6 punishing hours of tactical play. One last prompt offers several needless theatrical ways for his avatar to leave. He selects the first and watches Hitman depart after a wonderfully corny farewell. The completion screen appears, only to award the run a miserable D rank. Ren stares in outrage, unable to believe his supposed masterpiece barely passed. The result page confirms his success but repeats that insulting near-failing grade. Confused, Ren searches for an explanation. Farther down is an enormous series of penalties for property destruction. Those deductions crush his total score and leave him dumbfounded. By behaving like a solo army, he erased roughly 80% of the intended plot. The true goal was to evacuate the target while keeping casualties low. Ren's rampage was therefore the exact opposite of competent protection. Every guard he shot had actually belonged to his own side, making the reckless strategy a catastrophe for everyone caught nearby. Determined to earn a perfect result, Ren reloads and adopts a quieter method. He plans to steal a handgun before moving directly into the inner chamber. 2 attentive guards bar the grand doorway as soon as Hitman approaches. They request an invitation while a fresh set of replies appears. A polite question draws only a smug remark about the family's exclusive guest list. The guard leans closer and begins interrogating him about his origins. Just as the exchange grows dangerous, quick footsteps sound behind them. A silver-haired aristocrat named Angel Recall arrives and introduces himself. He presents an invitation and says a wardrobe mishap forced him to change clothes. The guards welcome him courteously and forget all about Hitman. Since conversation has failed, Ren considers a timed assault to rescue the target. Forcing an entrance goes predictably wrong when the guards fill his avatar with bullets. Ren covers his face, recognizing that a frontal attack leads nowhere but the game over screen. He reloads and waits outside in the downpour for another opportunity. Right on schedule, Angel Recall hurries past with a key target marker above him. Ren intercepts the noble and politely offers assistance with his soaked outfit. A quick strike to the neck then provides Hitman with a new identity, and Ren with a fresh save. He celebrates because information from the failed run revealed this elegant shortcut. Wearing the nobleman's appearance, Hitman strolls through security without resistance. The oblivious guards open the doors and escort him directly into the VIP area. Once inside the lavish room, he finally receives the official protection objective. The disguised assassin approaches his client with a painfully exaggerated compliment. Instead, he finds 2 red-haired sisters seated together on a sofa. They answer his greeting with a long and uncomfortable stare. The older sister tactfully explains that his flowery words were meant for her younger sibling. Ren freezes as he tries to understand the mistake. His legendary protection target is nothing more than a toddler clutching a teddy bear. That discovery explains the disgusted look the butler gave him in the earlier attempt. Ren can only laugh at the ridiculous level of detail packed into the game. His flawless stealth route ultimately earns an exceptional score of 85. At last, he leans back and celebrates a clean rescue with no casualties. The upload completes and awards him 15 merit points along with a treasure chest. Exhausted by the marathon session, Ren falls asleep on the couch. Far away, quiet activity stirs in the misty streets of England. A sharply dressed agent slips a sealed envelope into his pocket. The real operative steadies himself beside an unconscious silver-haired noble in the alley, then sets off for a huge illuminated estate to complete his assignment. Unsuspecting guards warmly admit the disguised man into the manor. Inside, he encounters the same red sisters from Ren's game. He performs his role perfectly and introduces himself to the lady of the house. Ren wakes hungry in his apartment, unaware that his actions have rewritten reality. At a nearby diner, he hears two girls discussing a major gun battle in England. He leans over and asks whether they mean the game he played. The short-haired girl scoffs and tells him the story is trending everywhere. Ren cannot understand why anyone would care so much about his obscure game. Then she pushes her phone toward him, showing genuine footage of the estate. Panic sets in when he recognizes his customized character in the recording. Nervously, he asks whether this is footage from an expensive action film. The girl snaps at him for knowing nothing about the biggest story online. She leaves with her friend, complaining about his awful attempt at flirting. Ren is left to confront the fact that his gaming session changed the physical world. His phone confirms that the story has overwhelmed every social feed. Users endlessly repost images of his hitman and speculate about the mystery. An enormous real-world incident occurred while he remained completely unaware. Ren grabs the mouse and begins tracing the source of the chaos. At dawn, an unknown video seized control of every major website and streaming service. An unavoidable browser redirect forced internet users everywhere to watch it. The transmission passed through all security measures like an unstoppable infection. Titled Hitman, Bloodbath Banquet, it reproduces Ren's stealth mission in real time. The recording introduces its lethal hero, Callan Lamperouge, outside the rain-covered mansion. Audiences around the globe then watch him infiltrate the celebration. The disguised operative solemnly promises to value the sisters' lives above his own. Before offering trust, the butler asks for his true identity. Hitman moves closer and quietly warns him about assassins among the guests. He identifies two enemy agents posing as waiters, then reveals that 13 additional gunmen are disguised as wealthy attendees. Guided by these clues, the butler notices their rigid posture and concealed weapons. He learns that the coordinated slaughter will begin in 4 minutes. As the deadline nears, Hitman confidently claims to represent the secretive Xiangong. He outlines a precise plan to remove the threats and capture their hidden rifles. Ren watches his own frantic playthrough return as an uncannily realistic production. Outside, the surviving assassins flee through the rain while sirens close in. Within the manor, the operative lowers his gun and calmly announces that everyone is safe. The butler remains cautious, but the older sister steps forward to express her gratitude. She bows and promises a handsome reward from her affluent family. Predictably, shameless viewers pause the broadcast on the neckline of her dress. The woman tells Hitman he may ask for anything in return for their rescue. Smiling, he kneels and beckons the little girl toward him. Her older sister gently encourages the timid child to thank their mysterious protector. Hitman pats the toddler's head and declares that she is all he wants. The family recoils in horror, while Ren nearly chokes on his food. Comments explode with jokes, accusing his customized avatar of being a criminal. On-screen, Hitman gives one final dramatic promise to safeguard the girl. He waves goodbye and vanishes before the police can capture him. The astonished family watches his body scatter into luminous blue particles. The broadcast dominates every streaming platform and ignites furious debate. A sweating Ren finally accepts that the recorded events truly happened. Online investigators have already authenticated the manor, the sisters, and the firefight. His night with the controller dictated actual events in exacting detail. Once the shock passes, Ren sees extraordinary potential in that frightening connection. He returns to the couch, takes hold of the controller, and starts the game again. Ren tightens his grip, wondering what disaster the next command might create. The system greets him and points out the rewards he has not opened. Meanwhile, the story returns to the Lamperouge estate in mist-covered England. Butler Walter welcomes an important visitor he has not met in many years. The guest is the striking Mafala, now employed by the prestigious Victoria Intelligence Department. She formally presents herself to family head Yuffie as the younger red-haired girl listens. Her new department, she explains, is conducting a secret inquiry into the attack. Yuffie insists that the family revealed everything, including Baron Flack Norman's involvement. Mafala says her real interest is the legendary killer who disappeared without evidence. Yuffie and her daughter also want him located and will pay generously for any lead. Walter swears that the stranger dissolved before Arfas. Several surveillance recordings captured the same impossible disappearance. Mafala concludes that a large, technologically advanced organization supports him. Yuffie begins to appreciate how fortunate her family was to survive. Their unknown protector saved everyone without suffering so much as a wound. Investigators also cannot explain how the whole operation was filmed without visible cameras. Yuffie wonders whether their rescuer might be something other than human. Mafala counters that his central purpose was clearly the toddler's safety. The older sister asks what could make young Callan so important. The agent suspects the child carries a dormant supernatural gift. Astonished, Yuffie looks down at her quiet little sister. Mafala says the highest circles of nobility already know such powers exist. Yuffie guesses that their savior must possess magic of his own. The agent confirms that empowered people called transcendents have begun emerging across the world. Finding and observing these extraordinary individuals is her department's secret mandate. Yuffie still struggles to imagine that her tiny sister could be one of them. Back at the apartment, Ren examines the locked one-star chest on his screen. He grabs his phone, ready to buy a key with ordinary money. Instead, the system begins searching for one in exchange for merit points. Because payment is only taken after a successful match, Ren lets it continue. His phone interrupts with an absurdly poetic ringtone. Director Yi is calling with an urgent request made at the last moment. Ren must report for compulsory medical examination right away. At 2:30 that afternoon, he reaches his destination beneath a brilliant blue sky. He enters the sub-district office while daydreaming about a comfortable government career. The director is already waiting, and Ren hurries over to greet her. She introduces two other recent graduates assigned to the new work unit. The small group then heads outside to catch up with the rest of the staff. Along the way, they discuss how unusually crowded local offices have become. The reason soon appears. An immense line of citizens stretches beyond the building. A sour purple-haired man inside tells them to collect their own forms and leave him alone. Ren is confused when the stranger somehow makes his heart flutter. His bespectacled classmate teases him that everyone is straight until the right man arrives. Their joking stops when they notice the long queue at the blood testing area. The mere thought of a needle terrifies the classmate. Holding his stomach, he begs Ren to give blood in his place. Before Ren can answer such a ridiculous proposal, two security officers notice them. They order the student to stop when he attempts to flee. In panic, the classmate turns and releases a cloud of glowing violet butterflies at the guards. Ren can only stare as his awkward friend reveals himself to be a rogue transcendent. With police already approaching, the frightened student tries to escape. The purple-haired agent calmly blocks the route and recites every crime tied to him. Refusing to surrender, the fugitive charges with supernatural energy blazing. The agent slips aside and lands a devastating punch to his stomach. The student collapses unconscious, and the officer declares the case closed. Turning around, the agent notices Ren and summons him with a casual wave. He tells the bewildered young man to help move the sleeping bodies out of the corridor. Since the order comes from an obvious authority figure, Ren decides to comply. He drags the heavy bodies aside while admiring the strong, flexible fabric of their protective vests. Looking at Mo Xiaolong, Ren recognizes that this confusion offers the perfect opening. As he crouches beside his unconscious classmate, a system alert appears. The purple-haired officer turns and asks what Ren is doing. Ren covers himself by pointing out that the student is now a criminal suspect. He also wonders aloud whether the whole rampage was merely an attempt to avoid a needle. The agent explains that a blood analysis would have exposed the student's powers. Ren asks how his unassuming classmate managed to incapacitate so many people. The officer replies that Ren lacks the security authorization for that answer. Director Yi arrives and formally transfers the suspect to the State Security Bureau. At the same time, a silver key forms in Ren's inventory, proving the acquisition worked. The officer accepts Ren as an innocent witness and lets the matter drop. Ren excuses himself to complete the examination, confusing the agent with his calm response. During their handshake, the system says this particular target's key cannot yet be obtained. The officer sends him away so the authorities can deal with the aftermath. Ren submits his remaining paperwork and slips quietly from the building. Director Yi does warn him not to leave the city for the next several days. He readily agrees, understanding that she is trying to shield him from trouble. Back home, Ren starts the console and claims a rare one-star sleep key. The magical item was drawn directly from his classmate's butterfly-induced slumber ability. He uses it on the chest, which opens in a flash of golden radiance. The reward is a basic combat technique restricted, rather amusingly, to upright apes. The system also gives him a one-star skill named Sweet Dreams, capable of hypnotizing a willing subject. Ren equips the peculiar ability to his game avatar. Any power assigned to that avatar should be transferred directly into Ren's body. The experiment produces a fierce burning pain that races through his hand. He has certainly acquired the combat skill, but his sedentary physique cannot cope with it. Ren switches to the new sleep technique and prepares another test. Looking at his empty hands, he has no idea how to activate it. He settles for wiggling his fingers in front of his own eyes. A strange pulse begins to ring rhythmically inside his head, and Ren accidentally sleeps until the following afternoon. He wakes with a start, afraid that he knocked himself unconscious. His confusion ends when a courier arrives with another game order. Ironically, Ren has yet to turn on the costly conventional console he bought. The finger-waving accident has given him the finest rest of his life. Eager and refreshed, he boots the strange system to inspect its newest release. He finds an April Fool's promotion offering everything at half price. The stealth title Lurk is discounted to 40 merit points, while the eerie green supernatural adventure Soul Fairy costs 45. A lightning-filled action game called Superpower Rampage is available for 50. With only 14 merits, Ren can do little besides plead for something free. Even sufficient currency would not let him buy the premium games. Every major title requires a level 4 account. His sole affordable option is a suspicious little mountain climbing game. It promises 40 merits and physical optimization to any player who survives. Calling himself a hardcore gamer, Ren risks nearly all his remaining points on it. One savage all-nighter later, he resembles a walking corpse. He has spent hours designing a fresh avatar in an uncannily detailed simulation. The editor even allows an athletic woman as the protagonist. Each sex brings a different advantage, such as improved stamina recovery or faster reactions under threat. Ren cannot be bothered with her face, so he accepts the default heroine named Seeker. Anyone expecting a glamorous parkour heroine is in for disappointment. When play begins, the beautiful graphics collapse into plain, flat shapes. His carefully designed athlete becomes a basic stick figure. The sparse interface contains only an altitude indicator and a rapidly refilling stamina gauge. Ren's thrilling assignment consists of walking up blocky, featureless stairs. Precise pressure-sensitive controls nevertheless make the crude climb strangely compelling. A calculation of his pace reveals that the first checkpoint remains hours away. After 4 days of near-continuous ascent, Ren's ringing phone interrupts his exhausted trance. A caller commands him to appear at the State Security Bureau the following afternoon. Failure to attend, the voice warns, will cost him his entire career. The possibility of joining state security leaves Ren genuinely stunned. His first practical question is whether the transfer includes better pay and benefits. Once he hears that it does, he accepts without hesitation. Director Yi sends him the contact details for his classmate, and Ren thanks her before hanging up. He then returns to the game, determined to finish the mountain in one uninterrupted push. By 4 in the morning, he looks thoroughly undead. Although he clears the mission, the reward contains fewer merit points than advertised. At least the rare physical optimization prize softens the disappointment. Ren repeatedly hits confirm to claim his hard-earned improvement. Golden light floods the screen as the system prepares to reconstruct his weak gaming body. Too tired to keep his eyes open, Ren slumps in front of the console. He rises the next afternoon feeling unexpectedly vigorous and well-rested. When he flexes, a startling amount of strength answers from his arms. Fantasy stories taught him to expect foul black sludge leaking from his pores, but there is none. He pinches his spotless skin and starts analyzing sebum and dead cells like a proper nerd. A violent growl from his stomach cuts the biology lecture short. Ren barely reaches the bathroom before his body removes its impurities by a more conventional route. He staggers out feeling much lighter, though the process has left him exhausted. An unknown number calls and asks him to verify his identity. The caller is Li Qingxuan, a beautiful woman attending the same interview that afternoon. Ren bluntly asks what she needs from him. She wants privileged information, but he truthfully says he is another uninformed graduate. On the way to the meeting, he concludes that the government is recruiting supernatural people. His destination is the city's vast and intimidating State Security Bureau headquarters. The lobby already contains enough applicants to form a modest army. Lee agrees that the crowd is odd and jokes that they have joined a pyramid scheme. A self-satisfied young man approaches and asks whether they know the newest online rumors. He says the authorities are erasing credible leaks about supernatural events. Introducing himself as Shi Gansi, he boasts of excellent family connections. Ren claps him on the shoulder and claims their rhyming names signal a legendary bond. Curious despite herself, Lee asks Shi to explain the rumors. She remembers a popular clip in which street entertainers controlled real fire and ice without equipment. She insists that it proves genuine superpowers exist and that the state is concealing them. He believes their interview concerns a secret government division established for that reason. Ren immediately connects the theory with the mysterious agents in tactical vests. Xie adds that their medical screenings quietly identified them as slightly superhuman. He pulls out his phone and invites them into an exclusive network of contacts. Ren is promptly added to a group chat with a comically grand name. Its candidates trade private tips intended to help one another navigate the system. Ren praises Shi's initiative until the man's already large ego swells further. He warns Shi that improper jokes will lead to immediate removal from the group. Afraid of losing valuable connections, the rich young man quickly retreats. As Shi walks away, Li quietly thanks Ren for silencing the tiresome gossip. The tireless social climber simply redirects his flirting toward a beautiful pink-haired woman. She calls herself Chao Muyi and meets his smug performance with an innocent blank stare. Ren's chest suddenly experiences the familiar pounding signal from the system. Meanwhile, Xie gushes uncontrollably about Chao's soft voice and adorable manner. A firm hand comes down on her shoulder and interrupts his courtship. It belongs to Ren, who boldly announces that he and Chao share a rhyming destiny. She looks at him with wide-eyed bewilderment. She is appalled to hear Ren reuse the very same line he just stole. The system then demands more than 2 straight hours of bodily contact with Chao. Before Ren can invent an excuse that does not sound criminal, several large buses arrive. The crowd wonders whether this mysterious interview is turning into a field trip. A muscular, intimidating instructor named Yu Jilong storms in and orders silence. Every conversation in the lobby stops at once. The instructor mocks their orderly queue by asking whether they await execution. He roars a demand for the person who dared whisper a complaint. No one volunteers to become his first victim, and the room remains silent. Yu announces a compulsory 5-day camp with no contact outside the facility. Director Yi's instruction to bring extra clothing now makes sense to Ren. Several frightened applicants surrender their buses instead of boarding the buses. Ren eagerly lines up and notices the familiar purple-haired agent nearby. He corners the man and repeats his earlier question about making people unconscious. The agent only says Team 8 will learn the answer soon enough. Ren boards under his newest assignment and surveys the rows of seats. Chao is sitting alone, presenting the opportunity he wanted. Li steps into his way and announces that the women should sit together for safety. Ren plots from the seat behind them while Xie begins another attempt to flirt. All their schemes suffer when the instructor bans mobile phones for the entire camp. Ren silently complains about losing his precious device to government secrecy. 5 hours into the rough journey, Xiao drifts to sleep. He furtively rests a hand on her shoulder and starts a 5-minute countdown. Her eyes open before the timer can finish. Untroubled, she brushes his hand aside while Ren makes a poor show of innocence. The attempt fails, but he still has 5 days to try again. Eventually, the convoy reaches a vast and isolated mountain complex. Uneasy candidates leave the buses and examine their new surroundings. The size of the gathering tells Ren that recruits have come from several cities. Shay darkens the atmosphere with a particularly grim conspiracy theory. An instructor sends everyone to eat before reporting to the central square. The hungry trainees pour into an enormous cafeteria. Ren spots Xiao and Li sharing a table. Carrying his tray over, he pretends their meeting is an astonishing coincidence. He wonders how to lower Xiao's defenses long enough to complete the timer. Beside them, Li complains that military exercises will destroy her skincare routine. Xiao solemnly predicts that this camp will transform each of their lives. The turning point, she says, may lift them to greatness or place them in a grave. Her dark prophecy thoroughly kills the mood at dinner. At 8 that night, the candidates gather on a shadowy field. A severe instructor called Zhao Jinghong introduces himself and presents the rules. He requires complete obedience, then takes them to the main auditorium for an explanation. One recruit's patriotic chanting only earns an eye roll from Ren. The crowd files into the dim hall and waits for the promised presentation. Sitting close by, Shay senses that Ren's conduct has become deeply strange. He edges away in disgust after noticing his companion drooling like an infatuated dog. Ren has been captivated by the handsome speaker on stage. His eyes sparkle as he silently declares this unknown man extraordinary. Beautiful women make his heart skip like a couple of startled deer. But this man unleashes a stampede of 10,000 horses through his soul. Ren keeps staring, and an increasingly uncomfortable Xie moves farther away. The handsome presenter commands silence from the crowded auditorium. He is Yu Kuang-tu, the province's strongest cultivator at the second stage. Claiming that demonstrations matter more than talk, he ignites his fist. A roaring column of flame rises toward the ceiling. Yu shapes it into a gigantic sphere of fire that hangs above the stage. He then summons an assistant named Li Dan. Li jumps fearlessly toward the enormous burning globe. A single unseen wave of kinetic force snuffs out every flame. The audience can do nothing but stare in open-mouthed silence. Yu adjusts his microphone and prepares to explain what they have witnessed. All of them are civil servants who possess the rare potential to cultivate. 30 minutes later, the excited recruits leave knowing their world has fundamentally changed. Reports across the planet show spiritual energy returning and awakening unusual gifts. Astronauts are even measuring the phenomenon with advanced instruments aboard orbital spacecraft. This universal spiritual tide began triggering gifted awakenings roughly 6 months ago. Some newly empowered people naturally tried to form cults or criminal organizations. Specialized public security teams swiftly arrested them for scientific study. Hostile superhumans became experimental subjects, while cooperative talents received luxurious treatment. The military eventually developed a reliable way to identify and train spiritual fighters. The state incorporated awakened talents throughout civil service and the healthcare system. Its black-vested squads became the nation's first generation of military cultivators. She practically shakes with delight at what he considers a brilliant career decision. He believes a little effort will allow the newcomers to surpass every veteran. Ren is less convinced, reasoning that simple detection technology will soon expose the global secret. Huge training facilities make leaks inevitable, no matter what the government desires. Another friendly recruit joins them and agrees with Ren's logic. He introduces himself as Yuan Dong and hopes they can survive team training together. Ren watches the women become friends but never finds another chance to touch Qiao. He can only look on as they enter a carefully guarded women-only dormitory. Early the next morning, a brutal roll call leaves the trainees' throats raw. Their instructor explains that this ordinary field holds 3 times the normal spiritual energy concentration. One confused trainee asks why the precious energy does not drift away without a roof. Another requests exact coordinates and tests the limits of the instructor's patience. He cuts off the foolish questions and begins teaching the basic cultivation technique. A mysterious voice heckles him to speak louder before he can start. Furious, the instructor orders the offender to identify himself. Then he notices that the voice seemed to come from high above them. Still unwilling to ignore the insult, he gives the prankster one last chance to confess. No one steps out, so the entire unit is sentenced to push-ups. One bold recruit rises and calls collective punishment a sign of incompetence. Since the candidates met only yesterday, he argues the policy is senseless. The teacher should either locate the culprit or continue the lesson normally. Enraged by the challenge, the instructor lunges to seize the outspoken student. Ren and Yuan jump between them and lock down both of the teacher's arms. They calmly point out that a few push-ups do not justify violence. The instructor grunts in surprise when the 2 beginners restrain his strength. Pretending nothing happened, he agrees to proceed with running and breath training. A single error in the breathing rhythm, he warns, will ruin the exercise. He demonstrates a complicated mixture of short and long breaths used to form a chi vortex. After repeating the directions 3 times, the muscular teacher orders them to practice. Anyone unable to produce a vortex within 5 days will be judged talentless. Exhaustion arrives almost at once. Most recruits cannot complete one breathing sequence. Even the strongest prospects collapse on the grass under the physical strain. Disappointed by this pitiful performance, the instructor calls Team 8 back into formation. He says he overestimated them and will reduce the lesson to an easier basic technique. Xie suspects that the resentful instructor is deliberately undermining their training. Ignoring the objections, the man begins teaching the simplified breathing pattern. Halfway through, he notices a conspicuous gap in the line. line. Everyone turns to see Ren sprinting alone around the running track. Coughing heavily, Ren pushes his body as hard as it can go. A dense ribbon of white vapor leaves his mouth, proof that he completed the advanced exercise. The recruits watch in amazement while their spiteful instructor waits for him to collapse. Instead, Ren jogs back fully covered because the advanced method replenishes his stamina. The teacher explains that excellent aptitude can multiply a simple technique's effect tenfold. A classmate immediately compares the concept to spiritual roots in fantasy novels. The instructor calls it a matter of physical constitution, and Ren asks how it can be measured. Impressed, the man assumes that Ren must have served in the military. In truth, Ren has never completed any meaningful physical training. As the basic lesson resumes, he quietly thanks the console's optimization reward. That afternoon, a respected scholar lectures them on the mechanics of chi vortexes. The lower dantian, he says, naturally stores the newly absorbed energy. It eventually begins spinning and improves the cultivator's body across 3 distinct levels. The process progresses from an unstable formation period to the settled state of a true cultivator. A fortunate minority skip this exhausting path by awakening unique abilities on their own. Known as awakeners, they command powers beyond the reach of ordinary practice. Even regular people retain a tiny possibility of developing a special talent later. The intensive lecture continues for hours as recruits struggle to memorize every secret detail. Far away, a solitary vehicle crawls through the icy roads of the Taidamia Mountains. A passenger wrapped in heavy clothing shivers while the driver describes the deadly temperatures above. They still have 10 hours before reaching the Holy Mount Hyjal base camp. Their conversation stops when something appears beyond the frost-covered window. A lone figure is running through the frozen wilderness without winter clothing. She is a barefoot blonde in a thin black outfit, dressed as if for summer. The woman races up the snowy incline at a speed no ordinary body could achieve. The astonished driver begins shouting a warning. She has jumped into the air and caught the jagged cliff with a single hand. The weak stone breaks away, dropping her toward the frozen chasm. Somehow, her bare toes bite into the rock face and stop the fall. She flips upward with impossible agility and resumes the wild ascent. The automobile creeps along below while the barefoot athlete scales the vertical wall. Inside, an independent media editor types furiously about what she has witnessed. She feels certain that this mysterious superhuman will cross her path again. At camp, she accuses Ren of making romantic progress at unbelievable speed. Someone apparently saw him leaving Chao's guarded dormitory the previous night. Ren hastily explains that he only visited to play a friendly game. A simple card match served as the easiest way to build trust with his target. That answer merely makes his roommate more eager to maintain a useful connection. During the next 3 days, recruits try different sports to discover a suitable cultivation rhythm. Chi vortexes begin forming mid-exercise, sending luminous energy through their bodies. On the track, Ren hides how quickly he succeeded and pretends to struggle. At night, he plays cards with Chao, quietly increasing her affection score. Their routine ends on the 4th day when the group approaches the cafeteria. A solid wall of trainees is blocking the doorway. Before anyone can investigate, a furious brawl breaks out at the entrance. A blinding burst of fire hurls the crowd backward. From the smoke walks a recruit wrapped in flames, every piece of clothing burned away. Chao recognizes that the fool has undergone a dangerous spontaneous awakening. His magnificent new gift appears to be public nudity in full daylight. The disgusted crowd retreats as his glorious flames begin to fade. Ren feels the system's familiar flutter and realizes that another key is nearby. The alert makes him stop while everyone else rushes to safety. It confirms that the naked Fire Awakener possesses Ren's next valuable key. Unfortunately, the man is unstable and clutches his head as the power escapes control. A group of experienced trainees charges into the cafeteria to contain him. They shout for the burning rookie to calm himself before the energy overwhelms his mind. He answers with a furious roar and a stronger surge of fire. One senior raises a heavy metal table to bring him down. The enormous piece of furniture flies at the rampaging recruit, striking him directly in the face and returning some sense to his burning head. Senior trainees pile onto the fire user and smother his power with physical force. They pin him face first against the floor, ending the naked spectacle. Ren watches the awkward wrestling match through a haze of secondhand embarrassment. A weary senior with deep circles beneath his eyes takes command of the cleanup. He orders the wounded carried to the infirmary for advanced spiritual treatment. Ren uses the opening to approach him and begin a casual conversation. He asks about the infamous powered criminal who infiltrated their organization. The senior describes a predator who attacked victims with sleep-producing smoke. The criminal believed that becoming a government worker would hide him in plain sight. With a grim smile, the senior says powered criminals inevitably end up in research laboratories. He introduces himself as Lee Dan and suggests that they may work together in the future. Their handshake prompts the system to identify Lee as another key target. More importantly, Ren learns that extracting a key is much faster while its owner sleeps. He begins designing a clever, if morally questionable, way to induce that sleep. The 4th day continues as their unit assembles for a major new lesson. Their instructor takes them to room 303 and forbids anyone from touching its contents. The class gasps at a blue cube suspended in open air. It floats through spiritual energy, the teacher boasts, and not through ordinary magnets. Now that their chi vortexes exist, they can study elementary energy control. The recruits realize they are about to learn genuine magic from a fantasy story. Their first 2 foundational techniques are called Cloak and Lock. Cloak uses energy from the vortex to create invisible armor. It can shrug off elemental attacks like the cafeteria fire fire users' flames and may even protect someone struck by a truck moving at 60 kilometers per hour. Fast bullets remain lethal, however, so escape is the recommended response. The instructor compresses his chi and slices paper as though wielding a sword. Mastering the basic defense, he says, is essential for every later combat art. A dim blue shimmer outlines his successfully formed spiritual barrier. It filters gases and displaces a thin layer of air around its user's body. Falls beyond 30 meters are still a matter of personal fortune. Lock, the next technique, disrupts an enemy's spiritual energy circulation. The floating blue crystal before them provides a way to acquire both skills. With them, the trainees can restrain ordinary citizens without carrying weapons. These secrets cannot be communicated through speech alone, so the instructor points to his temple. He asks Ren to hold the spell network device and circulate his chi. Ren must close his eyes and concentrate on the guidance within the crystal. He obeys and sinks deep into his consciousness. A boundless black digital space opens around him, illuminated by one distant glow. The stone seed floats there with a strange connection to his spirit. Nothing else occurs, leaving Ren unsure of what to do. A countdown announces that initialization is beginning. At 0, a tiny flame kindles in the darkness above his seed. Dozens of additional fires appear across the vast grid like distant stars. Believing himself safe, Ren observes the stone seed drifting quietly before him. It abruptly catches fire, and his avatar burns with bright, snapping flames. The system welcomes every trainee into the legendary spell network. Administrators across the country ignite their own authentication fires. The network prepares to place classified defensive methods straight into the recruits' minds. A towering shaft of golden radiance cuts through the artificial sky. A torrent of spiritual power descends toward Ren to begin the transfer. When the download ends, he can feel the techniques permanently engraved in his memory. The instructor watches a room of newly trained supernatural soldiers open their eyes. Outside, recruits boast that they mastered complex spells without opening a book. Chow spoils the celebration by drawing attention to their nearly empty energy reserves. The mental transfer consumed their own precious chi as fuel. Downloading an entire textbook would likely drain an ordinary cultivator dry. They joke about living in the dial-up age of a spiritual internet. Still, membership among the world's gifted 1% makes the walk back enjoyable. Ren asks Chow to join him for a confidential private discussion. Their companions exchange knowing smiles as the pair leaves together. In a secluded place, Ren proposes that they settle their matter now. The system says her key can be extracted with under an hour of contact at her shoulder. This is his best chance before camp ends and everyone gets their phones back. He still needs a plausible way to make Chow fall asleep in his presence. Before Ren speaks, she says she dislikes prolonging awkward situations. She follows with a preemptive rejection that leaves him stunned. His thoughts grind to a halt as he processes an unwanted romantic refusal. Chow politely says goodbye and walks away, abandoning him in confusion. Her departure is so fast that visible afterimages follow her. Ren understands that constant card games and attention convinced her he was courting her. Internally, he screams that his goal was hypnosis, not romance. Mocking laughter from the grass interrupts his frustration. Beneath the trees, the sleepless senior Lee Dan lounges in the shade. Ren sits beside him and asks why he is resting on damp earth. Perhaps the government dormitory beds are too hard for his taste. Lee rejects every sensible explanation involving roommates or a love of nature. They argue over whether insomnia or vanity keeps him outdoors. His awakened hearing makes the faintest nighttime breeze thunder like a jet engine. Ren recommends expensive headphones with active noise cancellation. Unfortunately, Lee's sensitive ears can hear the frequencies produced by the headphones themselves. Ren asks whether the terrible insomnia is a consequence of awakening. A dark pressure surrounds Lee as he warns that such questions can be dangerous. Some awakeners have committed murder to preserve the secrecy of their abilities. Sweating, Ren nods and promises never to mention it again. Lee tells him to leave since the program ends the next morning. Ren instead offers a special technique that might finally let him sleep. Lee doubts him because normal hypnosis has no effect on a trained cultivator. Yet 40 sleepless days are steadily destroying the man's sanity. Desperate for relief, Lee finally allows Ren to try. Ren equips Sweet Dreams and begins the hypnotic motion. Lee scoffs at the silly hand gestures, certain the attempt will fail. His eyes roll back and he drops to the ground like a sack. Ren sits down beside him and quietly starts the extraction timer. It finishes in time and adds another golden key to his collection. The following morning, recruits gather in the corridor for their departure. Ren remains worried about his disappointing progress in normal cultivation. A stable chi vortex is the only way to accelerate future growth. His classmates surround him with unrequested and overly dramatic dating advice. They gesture to the passing women and remind Ren that life continues after rejection. Tired of the misunderstanding, he simply nods along. A female officer calls Ren into the examination chamber for an aptitude assessment. He takes a nervous breath and enters through the heavy wooden doors. Evaluators place him on a black mat and tell him to perform the breathing technique. After only 2 minutes, the chief examiner orders him to stop. Sweating, Ren asks just how badly he failed. His spiritual breathing result is a poor 125, far below the average. His worst fear appears confirmed, and Ren begins to panic. The humiliation feels like his parents discovering a deeply questionable browser history. The woman laughs and tells her supervisor to quit tormenting the young man. State security only demands a 1.0, the lead examiner explains, so Ren has passed. Hard work can improve the score, though progress becomes increasingly difficult. Reaching a perfectly ordinary baseline remains realistic for him. Ren compares the task to a failing student grinding toward a passing mark. The examiner agrees and notes that most citizens never reach the baseline at all. After verifying his hometown, the staff dismisses Ren to pursue his cultivation. They caution him not to expect a magical ring inhabited by an ancient grandfather. The female evaluator jokingly offers him a post in her understaffed district. In the cafeteria, trainees celebrate their last complimentary meal and compare test results. One melodramatic man mourns the flood of unread messages surely filling his phone. Xiao dryly reminds him that no one ever texts him. Once their bags are packed, the recruits board buses for the return journey. Ren sees Xiao alone and recognizes another chance to act. Despite the embarrassing misunderstanding, they still have a friendly relationship. All he needs is a nearby seat and one more use of the sleep spell. His classmates ruin everything by pulling him into a card game. Another woman occupies the empty seat beside Xiao. With the bus filling, Ren is trapped among the men. He spends the entire trip listening to their endless dull stories. Night has fallen by the time they return to the city. The instructor releases them and says work assignments will arrive by text message. He cautions them to conceal their abilities from dangerous criminals. The group exchanges contact information and creates a large chat room. Xiao offers her phone so Ren can add her personal contact card. He awkwardly tries to explain that he never intended to flirt with her. Another woman grabs Xiao's arm before the explanation can continue. She pulls Xiao away to dinner, leaving Ren to wave in defeat. He still cannot imagine a non-threatening way to make her sleep. Abandoning the problem, he returns to the privacy of his rented apartment. Ren checks his storage container and confirms that the luminous sphere remains secure. For a few complimentary apartments, he admits he would surrender it to the government without delay. Holding the controller, Ren decides that the console needs an absolutely reliable hiding place. Losing such an extraordinary device to an ordinary burglar would be unbearable. The concern fades when a strange loading symbol appears beside a completed level. Ren remembers that it is April 8th, the date of the monthly free game rotation. The screen brightens and presents 3 new titles. First comes a turbulent clan management simulator set in a curse-ridden world. The second is a tense, text-based spy story built on lies and betrayal. Finally, a merciless dungeon crawler offers an enormous tower filled with despair. Ren studies the list because all 3 possibilities look excellent. He sits in serious thought before making his final selection. Ren gets a late snack while searching the internet for entertainment. An unusual headline on his laptop draws his attention. At the same hour, lights remain on inside the Lianzhong State Security Bureau. The sleep-deprived Li Dan sucks on a mint to clear the last of his drowsiness. Ren's strange hypnosis gave him his first complete night of rest in weeks. Now Lee is trying to invent a respectable reason to recruit the young man into his unit. An emergency meeting interrupts him, suggesting that another awakener may have gone rogue. He briefly wonders whether a global martial arts tournament has been announced instead. The briefing chamber is filled with the department's highest-ranking operatives. Their commander has received momentous information from the upper levels of government. Agents rise in shock and whisper about a message from their secret source. The display shows a new upload from the legendary Ren Nizer. On a popular video platform, a beautiful blonde woman travels through a green forest. Ren stares at his own laptop and recognizes the title of the game he completed. This 55-part documentary series has already attracted millions of views. Sweating, he matches the dates and accepts that his virtual adventure is appearing in reality. The video opens on a magnificent snow-covered mountain surrounded by thick woodland. It zooms toward the blonde woman's bare foot, inspiring a flood of overly excited comments. She continues through the woods with such realism that viewers assume expensive CGI was used. The internet adopts her as its newest imaginary wife, ignorant of the secret behind her journey. Ren notices a comment directing everyone toward a specific timestamp. At that moment, the blonde crouches among the grass and prepares to spring. Her hand flashes out and catches a venomous snake in midair. She tosses it aside as though brushing away a minor inconvenience. Farther down, the comments display the internet at its most unrestrained. Millions of spectators are already analyzing every frame of the supernatural expedition. At the bureau, experts confirm that the woman's build is anatomically ordinary. One agent drops a frying pan on the table as part of his argument. He says the pan is only there because his mother wanted new cookware for late-night meals. The exhausted analysts must review hours of footage before their next shift. Elsewhere, an investigator interviews hospitalized mountaineer Zhang He about his expedition. Zhang wanted to reach Mount Haizhou's summit in memory of his first love. He continued even after his oxygen supply fell to a lethal level. The agent asks why any person would risk death for a mountain. Zhang answers that abandoning the attempt would have haunted him forever. As he neared death, a barefoot blonde woman leaped straight over him. Watching the testimony, Ren is shaken by what he hears. The recording shows his game heroine running barefoot through a hazardous jungle. She then climbs vertical walls of ice without any safety equipment. Heavily equipped hikers offer assistance, but she politely refuses and passes them. The barefoot woman walks through a high-altitude camp as amazed climbers stare. Ren understands that the game's cold penalty became genuine frostbite and fatigue. She confronts slopes steep enough to terrify professional mountaineers. With uncovered hands and feet, she scales thousands of meters of solid ice. Freezing winds make no visible difference to her relentless ascent. In the dark, she blindly jumps over enormous chasms. Her body heat turns ice to vapor as fragile icicles break in her hands. Skeptics call the footage false, but Ren remembers the thousands of deaths required to find this route. Each real obstacle duplicates the platforming challenge he personally overcame. At the fourth camp, she collects discarded oxygen equipment for the final stage. Ren recalls buying a cylinder and rope with scarce merit points. That purchase is why she now runs up a 10,000-meter summit under heavy gear. She scales nearly vertical ice one-handed while carrying the large tank. At one cliff edge, the heroine even performs a handstand to display her impossible balance. Eventually, another struggling party of fully equipped climbers appears ahead. From his hospital bed, Zhang says the summit was only 2 hours away. With an empty cylinder and severe hypoxia, however, every step brought him closer to death. He accepted the end as altitude and cold shut down his mind. Then a rhythmic pounding sounded on the snow behind him. Looking down, he saw a barefoot woman running up the slope. Zhang watched in disbelief while she climbed the vertical ice face. His useless oxygen mask provided no relief as he fought for air. The woman placed a working mask against his face. She attached the full blue cylinder to his equipment and saved him. Before anyone could react, she turned and continued barefoot toward the summit. Zhang describes his rescuer to investigators as a godlike superhuman. Families of rescued climbers fill the comments with emotional messages of gratitude. Ren is forced to recognize that his decisions altered real history. The footage even shows her roping a falling climber and pulling him to safety alone. Her path ultimately allows the whole party to reach the famous summit. Breathless and worn down, the blonde at last reaches the mountain's highest point. At exactly 11:40, she stands barefoot atop Mount Hyjal. She conquered 10,000 meters without protective clothing, meals, or sleep. Thin and scarred by the ordeal, she stretches one dirty hand toward the heavens. A wave of supernatural restorative power flows across her body. Every wound disappears, returning her healthy, radiant form. Golden motes surround her as she opens her arms to the brilliant sun. Before the mountaineers can respond, she becomes golden light and disappears. Meanwhile, Ren is brushing his teeth when his phone vibrates beside the sink. He answers and is immediately lectured by his mother about attending a blind date. Horrified, Ren listens as she schedules his entire path to marriage. Then he remembers that he has not told his family about cultivation. Their instructor permitted them to share basic techniques because only gifted people can use them. Ren decides to test his chi vortex and discover whether his relatives produced a genius. A tremendous flow of energy surges unexpectedly through him. His absorption rate has soared, firmly establishing him as a genuine cultivator. Ren covers his face and wonders how terrifying the truly elite geniuses must be. After an hour of demanding practice, a buzz breaks the apartment's silence. His phone is shaking against the wooden floor. On screen is a formal appointment letter from state security. Ren sighs while other trainees complain that they must return to work so soon. At the bureau, their commander convenes another meeting to examine classified material. One senior operative is startled by the accelerated schedule. The commander says the national screening initiative is being rushed forward. Staff shortages mean every available cultivator must enter service at once. Ren Nizer's viral mountain footage has made continued secrecy impossible. People everywhere must accept that reality has permanently shifted. Earlier anomalies could be blamed on visual effects. A documented 5-day climb cannot. The commander dismisses the agents and orders them to investigate these impossible figures. He remains deeply concerned about the unseen intelligence directing such godlike beings. Ren starts the console and faces a colorful screen full of new possibilities. He spends a hard-won key to open an unknown one-star chest. Golden Light reveals a passive ability named Infinite Energy. It explains how Seeker endured 5 mountain days without eating or resting. She was a normal mortal carried beyond ordinary limits by an overpowered skill. Unfortunately, the limitless endurance consumes the user's lifespan. Ren calculates that constant activation would halve the years he has left. He equips it anyway for one brief and supposedly harmless trial. Squats, push-ups, and sit-ups pass effortlessly without a trace of fatigue. He quickly unequips the ability before aging into an old man. All the accumulated exhaustion crashes over him, and Ren falls to the floor. He groans while every muscle protests the workout it only now begins to feel. The pain tempts him to reactivate the skill for immediate relief. Ren grabs his own hand before it can make that dangerous choice. Depending on effortless relief would imprison him in a fatal lifespan-burning cycle. Since he would rather live, the ability is reserved for genuine emergencies. He suffers on the couch for 10 long minutes until his body recovers. Then Ren eagerly reaches for the controller and his next digital adventure. 3 interesting complementary titles are waiting for a decision. He ultimately chooses the martial arts game and prepares for its challenges. A 2-star chapter titled Over My Dead Body begins. It takes place late in the Eastern Han when a tyrant burns entire cities. Emperor Guangwu once summoned meteors to imprison all demons. Now the imperial tombs have fallen, releasing spiritual power over the plains. Red-eyed ancient monsters are on the verge of returning. In response, common heroes awaken lightning and other spectacular powers. The wise emperor placed 3 bloodline restraints upon his champion's descendants. Luminous chains would prevent them from abusing their gifts or abandoning their duty. A prompt asks Ren to name the current leader of that family. He strokes his chin and searches for a sufficiently intimidating choice. Using his own surname, produces 3 brothers in a huge ancestral cemetery. The eldest, Ren Wuxing, tells his grieving siblings that they must complete the clan's mission. Young Ren Feifan breaks down and asks why their whole family suffered such a cruel death. Ren Changsheng says their cursed lineage gives them magnificent talent at a deadly price. On reaching 24 years of age, each family member explodes into energy. Fei Fan is horrified to discover that none of the brothers can live any longer. The surviving trio withdraws to the Great Ren estate and considers its options. Their awakened blood has filled their minds with inherited memories and ancient martial knowledge. Among it is the tale of the champion Manhua, who used the same talent to conquer the world. Breaking their restraints and restoring the Han requires three seemingly impossible achievements. Changsheng asks why the curse activated when they obeyed every ancestral command. Wuxing calmly raises a dreadful possibility. The Han royal line may already be extinct. The idea leaves the second brother frozen. Wuxing describes the chaos tearing apart the empire. A puppet emperor may occupy the throne, but the true divine lineage is probably gone. Changsheng holds his head and curses their ancestors' badly designed survival plan. He is particularly disgusted by its desperate requirement to mate with magical sprites. Wuxing taps his temple and reminds him that the blood curse itself imposes these primal drives. Their youngest brother raises his hands, utterly confused about the whole discussion of sprites. Changsheng explains that intercourse with an ordinary partner would drain her to death. Fei Fan panics because that places his crush from the marketplace permanently beyond reach. He falls to the floor and weeps over a future of compulsory bachelorhood. Changsheng clarifies that love remains possible with strong elemental spirits born from nature. A small amount of hope returns to the crying young man. The second brother smiles and assures him that their line will continue. They must guard the realm until a new dynasty can close the spiritual veins forever. Changsheng predicts that future descendants will despise Wuxing for preserving the curse. Guided by the champion Marquis' inherited will, the elder brother accepts that hatred. He vows their descendants will step across their corpses to purge every demon from the world. Generations of tragic souls will inherit this glorious but crushing responsibility. Since the land outside is in chaos, Changsheng proposes beginning with cultivation. In reality, Ren grips the controller as the lengthy introduction finally gives way to play. The menu grants 3 action points, all of which he assigns to offensive training. Changsheng announces that the brothers will devote autumn to lethal attack spells. By winter, they have learned new fire, sword, and spear techniques. A servant interrupts their practice to report an uninvited visitor. A charming earth spirit with pointed ears rushes in and begs them to rescue her valley. An army of murderous demons has crossed the border into her peaceful homeland. Changsheng coolly asks what reward the brothers will receive. Blushing, the empty-handed spirit admits that she owns nothing valuable. He bluntly asks whether she will offer her body to preserve their bloodline. Shocked, she warns that their resulting children would die before 30. Then understanding strikes. Perhaps the brothers possess legendary innate Tao bodies. Such divine constitutions can produce heirs only through union with sprites. One hand against her chest, she concedes that helping them may be possible. She will need an enormous quantity of spiritual crystals to serve as a protective vessel. Without them, the process will consume her vitality and put her to sleep for a century. The spirit summons a green gem and explains that these crystals form within pure spiritual veins. When Changsheng asks about skipping payment, she firmly says that spirits cannot be forced to submit. She departs after ordering them to bring the stones before demons overrun the valley. Unable to compel her, the brothers watch the earth spirit go. Ren realizes that his first central quest is to create an heir. He sends the eldest and youngest brothers exploring with a small supply of food. Changsheng remains at the estate to cultivate alone. In the forest, Ren chooses their route without any useful information. A roaring tiger drops from the canopy and attacks them. Fei Fan panics and flees, abandoning his elder brother to the beast. The danger proves laughable when Wuxing cuts the tiger in two. He harvests its meat and smacks the cowardly boy on the head. Farther along the road, Fei Fan finally finds enough courage to help fight wild bears. On the Taibai plain, the brothers see a frightened girl fleeing red-eyed ghost soldiers. Fei Fan grabs her and runs, once again leaving Wuxing to deal with the attackers. The game changes into a traditional grid-based tactical RPG. Ren easily circles the slow enemies with precise hit-and-run maneuvers. After looting the dead, Fei Fan introduces their rescue as Xiao Kui, his crush from the market. The group heads to her village and destroys every demon occupying it. To everyone's surprise, Fei Fan proves useful by sweeping his spear through the monsters. He then begs Wuxing to bring the now homeless Xiao Cui back to their estate. On their return, Changsheng is sheltering 3 wealthy women who need refuge. Their resources solve the clan's money problem and help its household expand. Changsheng still asks why complete strangers should be allowed to settle there. Wuxing says they need a wide human network to gather intelligence. Accepting refugees is the only realistic way to spread the family's influence. The idea leads Changsheng to suggest taking political authority for themselves. Imperial chains tighten around his neck at once and drive him to the ground. The family curse continues to forbid all involvement in mortal government. Recovering from the pain, he proposes killing demons at Hulao Pass for crystals. By winter, 28 villagers live on the estate and increase the brothers' cultivation rate. A fortunate event even brings them a large spirit crystal from one grateful resident. Then defeat at Hulao Pass permanently shortens Fei Fan's lifespan. Chongsheng explains that the Bloodline's emergency spell prevents death by consuming future years. Fortunately, the expedition produces more than 300 crystals for the Earth Spirit. Ren must now choose which brother will perform spiritual communion first. He selects Wuxing, who prepares for the decisive ritual. Ren leans toward the screen in expectation of an uncensored cutscene. A blinding white flash is all he gets, forcing him to cover his eyes. Since the ceremony lasts 3 months, Chongsheng assumes control of the estate. Wuxing's returns in spring, pale and carrying their newborn heir. While he describes the loss of vital essence, Ren complains that no naming option appeared. The AI calls the baby Ren Xiaobai, confirming that it has terrible taste in names. The updated family tree shows that Ren must preserve the line until the year 266. He improves Wuxing's scouting and discovers an unknown aura during a summer expedition. It guides the party to a great whirlpool where a beautiful lake sprite rises. Calling herself Lingbo, she asks them to kill the powerful demon haunting her waters. The enhanced scouting stat reveals the monster's location and difficulty. Marriage to this water goddess costs a painful 1,000 crystals. Ren studies the 6 primary attributes to maximize his resource gathering. He has to admit that these tactical systems make the campaign remarkably entertaining. Ren sends the brothers into war-torn Shu province to raid a notoriously bloody battlefield. There, they kill a gigantic 6-armed corpse demon and collect a rich supply of loot. Looking at the body, Fei Fan asks why innocent villagers became murderous creatures. Wuxing explains that spiritual power mixes with powerful resentment and corrupts the dead. Fei Fan remains shaken by the brutality of Cao Cao's massacres. His elder brother coolly defends the slaughter as a strategic means of compelling surrender. Sensing Fei's anger, Ren knows the emotional teenager is about to act foolishly. As expected, a notification announces that Fei Fan has left the group. Ren has lost his only dependable close-range tank. The estate survives without him through the late spring of 194. Then a familiar voice sounds from the courtyard. Exhausted and ashamed, Fei Fan walks back through the gate. Changsheng is horrified by the young man's white hair and aged face. Fei Fan admits he repeatedly tried to assassinate Cao Cao, only for his body to freeze each time. Changsheng says opposing the Empire's destiny activates their curse and burns away life. Tormented by dreams of the murdered civilians, Fei Fan could not simply ignore them. Outside the game, Ren stares at this development in disbelief. Preserving the line now requires arranging a union between the dying boy and the lake spirit. By late summer, the rapidly aging Fei Fan holds a daughter he names Ren Bu Hui. He falls to the floor and apologizes tearfully to his brothers. The siblings share a final embrace as the youngest dies. Ren screams in frustration because he never saved his progress. To his horror, the brutal game has no manual saving system. The family record displays a bleak pattern of early deaths and repeated disaster. Ren admits that the current playthrough is effectively doomed. Only teenagers can fight, so the underage Buhui must train by herself. Demons far beyond her level kill the girl before she can escape. Just 2 weak survivors remain to carry the entire Ren bloodline. Unless their cultivation is optimized, the demons will bring a rapid game over. Ren discovers that powerful elemental sprites grant immense attributes to their children. Dying parents can also transmit acquired statistics into the next generation. Time is scarce because demon armies are hunting and exterminating local spirits. Ren notices that each outbreak coincides with a historical Three Kingdoms catastrophe. Future battles will cause terrible floods and force civilians from their homes. Plagues of locusts and savage winters will devastate the land between campaigns. Together, these events produce a ghost realm filled with high-level enemies to farm. With the historical sequence understood, Ren prepares to restart the failed run. An official government recruitment call interrupts the gaming session. Immediate service will grant him entry to an advanced cultivation facility. Before leaving, Ren optimizes the real-world abilities he has equipped. He discovers a second character page that he previously missed. It allows him to inherit the extraordinary powers of dead ancestors from the game. Ren enters State Security Headquarters and begins his new official life. A neatly dressed guide takes him through the corridors to his squad leader. The captain is a large man almost hidden beneath disordered paperwork. He complains about being understaffed despite hundreds of bureau agents standing ready. The guide names him Captain Yu Jilong and tells Ren to collect his contract. Yu searches frantically through piles of folders for the correct document. Ren is astonished by the contract's generous income and employment benefits, yet it says nothing about access to the promised cultivation facility. Yu explains that permission is attached to a physical identification card he nearly lost yesterday. Reading the duties on its cover, Ren grasps the responsibility of his new role. Captain Yu pats him on the shoulder and warns that Team 3 will be difficult. Ren asks why they selected him and learns that a Chi Vortex is merely the entry requirement. Everyone else on the team is currently searching for a mysterious goddess. A viral recording captured the deity speaking with an identifiable local accent. Yu shows Ren his desk and tells him to prepare for his first duty. Their guide then brings a second new employee into the room. Ren stops in surprise at the familiar face. His acquaintance cheerfully greets him as a fellow officer. The captain ends their reunion by announcing an entrance test for both newcomers. He grips their shoulders with a grin that promises considerable pain. Half of Ren's body goes numb beneath the crushing pressure. Yu releases them and praises both recruits for withstanding his ambush. Ren had to activate cloaks simply to endure it. For now, the captain sends them to collect their tactical uniforms. Behind their backs, his hands tremble from the unexpected toughness of the new agents. Walking through the hall, Ren celebrates his decision to equip Cloak before arriving. The pink-haired recruit complains that their issued clothing comes in very different styles. Yu awkwardly says the uniforms were redesigned to appeal to younger officers. The young woman immediately imagines posing on assignment like a fashion model. Then the captain explains that their actual purpose is to prevent public nudity. An uncontrolled spiritual barrier can tear ordinary clothing apart. The specialized uniforms synchronize with Qi and remain intact. 1 week later, both agents are performing national screening duty at a school. Ren's partner tells him to stop avoiding work before they receive permanent demerits. A severe and conveniently timed stomachache sends the man racing from his position. Left alone, Ren studies historical sources for information about the game's chronology. He had hoped to work beside Xiao and extract her valuable key. Their chat reveals that she is instead posting rather questionable material. She tempts users with suggestive pictures, then startles them with a horrifying ghost clip. Ren concludes that partnering with this agent would eventually kill him. From the edge of the grounds, he watches students queue for compulsory examinations. A commotion begins when one frightened student refuses the blood draw. Ren approaches while a worried teacher tries to soothe the child. He ignores her warnings and steps closer to resolve the problem himself. The boy releases a violent spiral of newly awakened wind. Ren darts in and catches both wrists before the student can attack. His lock technique cuts off the dangerous blades of air. Powerless, the child sinks to his knees and stares in shock. Ren reassures the teacher that the strength loss is only temporary. His partner finally returns from the bathroom and calls for a containment team. With one hand bandaged, Ren happily receives 3 days away from the captain. The time off permits a magnificent, uninterrupted night of gaming. He has already used 36 save files to explore the game's randomized systems. Equipping real abilities he discovered improves the clan leader's attributes. Infinite Energy supplies additional action points for seasonal cultivation. A family head can train twice as quickly and transmit the skill to later heirs. The result is an exceptional child whose starting attributes dwarf those of the clan. Communion with a spirit now produces twins on every attempt as well. Even these advantages are threatened when a Central Plains epidemic creates a demon tide. High-level flame creatures pour across the region and endanger the whole lineage. The fire demons break into the Ren stronghold after nearly every disciple is sacrificed. To make the situation worse, young Ren Jing chooses this moment for a suicidal mission. His mother, Ren Ying, promises to break his legs before allowing such foolishness. She follows through, sending him to bed injured but alive. Ren examines the family tree and counts only 5 survivors across many generations. Earlier ancestors died in ridiculous ways, including seduction by famous beauties. Others attempted hopeless assassinations of the best-protected warlords in the country. The clan's defense now rests on Ren Ying and her uncommon shield form. It is one of 5 close combat styles available through random inheritance. 3 ranged forms also exist, though shield, martial arts, and Bao look strongest to Ren. Ying leads 3 elite cultivators toward Yiling to destroy the flame demons. On the road, Ren Luoyang notices Imperial troops running from plague corpses. The squad can abandon them, betray them, or fight the monsters. Ren selects battle purely for the convenient experience points. Ying jumps from a cliff behind her huge shield, astonishing the fleeing soldiers. Her trio tears through the undead with a coordinated attack. Ying enters her ultimate stance, increasing her attributes and drawing every enemy toward her. Crystalline energy erupts and locks the surrounding creatures in place. While she maintains a defensive posture, her shield form reduces all harm to 0. Her allies clear away the immobilized demons and complete a flawless victory. The rescued aristocrat names himself Cao Zhu, Prince of Yi, and offers his gratitude. He immediately identifies his rescuers as members of the renowned demon-hunting Ren clan. Cao praises their reputation for refusing royal orders and rejecting wealth or fame. Ren suspects that the charming prince is trying to marry into the family. Instead, Cao gives them a rare jade pendant that reveals the goddess of Luo's location. Children born from actual deities possess unmatched natural gifts. The burning ghosts near Yiling carry a passive power that continually destroys enemy defenses. It counters Ying's shield and drives her small unit into a desperate retreat through fire. 2 important cultivators suffer severe injuries and rapidly declining lifespans. Ren returns to the family tree to find a solution. The save is close to an irreversible failure loop and panic sets in. He decides to use the Goddess of Luo pendant before the playthrough collapses. Summoning the deity requires the sacrifice of a living clan member. The offering brings the magnificent water goddess Mi Fei onto the battlefield. Ren chooses the family head for a dangerous spiritual union with her. A radiant intimate rite binds their souls and begins a supreme bloodline. The scene shifts to the quiet Luo River for the divine child's birth. The newborn Ren Ying has a tragically brief life expectancy of 23 years. Her inherited attributes and traits nevertheless make her immune to both flame and water. Ren is delighted that a 1-year-old overpowered character may rescue the clan. Reborn inside the goddess, the sacrificed leader discovers that he survived. With this divine infant, victory finally seems within Ren's reach. The family must still endure until 263 and the end of the Three Kingdoms period. Historical campaigns and enormous wars will tear through the country before then. Ren suspects that even famous rulers may eventually become undead bosses. He is confident the improved lineage can survive long enough to found another dynasty. Ren leaves for a quick nighttime snack before the final push. A strange phone alert disturbs the peaceful break. Someone in the group chat has posted a viral guide to awakening supernatural powers. Every member begins posting legal disclaimers to distance themselves from the upload. Ren plays the clip and sees a gray-hooded man standing on a tall balcony. The self-described martial artist is Li Le, who launches into wild theories about dormant abilities. He argues that the famous climber is no goddess, but a seeker of truth. Clenching his fist, Li says she conquered nature to glimpse the ultimate Tao. In his view, she is simply an ordinary person who forced herself beyond her limits. To demonstrate his own search for power, he jumps from the high-rise balcony. Li lands perfectly on a narrow rail and begins teaching viewers how to release their potential. He throws a flurry of punches and says terminal illness drove him to seek exceptional strength. During a high kick, Li describes the real superhuman whose example inspired his hazardous training. Apparently it worked because golden energy surrounds his fist as he charges. Li proudly displays his glowing hand and calls the awakened gift bronze scales. He backs away several steps to set up another unbelievable demonstration. A perfectly ordinary motorcycle stands in the middle of the rooftop. Li seizes the heavy machine with his shining bare hands. One effortless flex breaks the motorcycle into a storm of pieces. Sitting among the wreckage, he says his ability also cured the terminal disease. In his view, anyone can awaken by driving the body to the edge of death. He concludes the broadcast with a grateful bow to the great Ren Neiser. In a crowded restaurant, Ren sees customers excitedly sharing Li's viral recording. The alarming demonstration inevitably reaches the highest security offices of state security. Ren asks his partner whether they can escort the young Wind Awakener home. He claims to want a closer look at an awakener whose family recently died. His companion praises what sounds like a compassionate motive. Their tactical vehicle soon reaches the guarded hospital at South China Medical University. Armed personnel block the entrance and request official authorization. The agents present their badges and complete an iris scan before being admitted. As soon as Ren enters, a suffocating pressure settles around him. This facility deliberately drains and disperses spiritual power. To cultivators, the technology feels like a tightening grip around the throat. Suppressing the discomfort, they ask the front desk for the young Wind user. A sympathetic doctor brings out the bandaged child and asks them to be gentle. Wen recognizes Ren as the man who captured him 3 days earlier. He prepares to resist until Ren explains that they only mean to take him home. That simple word unleashes a painful wave of grief. With no family remaining, the boy sobs in the rear of their vehicle. Ren turns and offers a hypnotic distraction to calm him. The child falls asleep, greatly impressing the driving agent. At the Countermeasures Bureau, officers upstairs are waiting for their arrival. Local agent Li Shuanghe introduces them to his senior colleagues. He leads them to Captain Yao Fei, whose beauty triggers Ren's familiar pounding heart. Yao stands with absolute authority and radiates an intense presence. Ren's system marks her as an exceptionally valuable high-level keyholder. His partner teases him for staring and promises to send some dubious links later. Yao asks Wen whether he is prepared to see the site of his parents' deaths. Through tears, the boy insists that he wants to confront it and avenge them. He opens the door onto a ruined living room stained with dark blood. In the bedroom, deep claw marks and dried pools reveal a brutal struggle. Whatever invaded the home had metal-sharp claws capable of tearing through a steel refrigerator. The agents confirm that hostile demons caused the attack. Ren's partner shares a classified record of 20 identical unresolved incidents. Examining it on his phone, Ren recognizes a starving ghost from his game. Later in the apartment, he advances to the campaign's last battle. Survival through the turmoil of 263 requires defeating the remains of Shu Han. An intelligent undead army marches on the Ren village to destroy it. The ghosts intend to establish eternal prosperity by erasing the entire clan. Heavily outnumbered Ren warriors hold their position and prepare to die. Enemy commanders activate powerful battlefield enhancements at the outset. The Ren side's overall strength falls to only 70%. A dense fog also hides the enemy rear guard from view. Another field effect strips armor with every passing turn. Refusing surrender, the family warriors charge into battle. Shu forces launch a destructive area spell from above. Ren frontliners brace as the enormous vanguard crashes into them. Through raw determination, they press toward the central formation. The opposition begins a controlled withdrawal designed to exhaust its pursuers. The wounded clan leader orders a reckless chase to preserve their momentum. He suffers a mortal strike while shielding his retreating successors. 15-year-old Ren Han lies dying on the field with one final wish. Ren sighs as the destruction of his entire base seems inevitable. A prompt offers resurrection in exchange for the spirits of earlier ancestors. The glowing soul of 5th-generation Ren Wuxing appears to comfort the injured youth. Inspired by his forebear, the boy promises never to shame the family name. Blue fire surrounds his desperate charge back into the enemy ranks. His remaining allies fight with inhuman ferocity to honor every sacrifice. A huge crescent of energy rips across the enemy line. Undead bowmen respond by aiming brilliant violet arrows at the Ren vanguard. Their deadly volley pierces the family's faithful shield bearers. More ancestral souls appear and entrust their final hopes to the survivors. The bloodied leader uses his body as a shield and forces a path forward. A dazzling beam of 2-colored divine power erupts over the battlefield. Ancestor Ying manifests and confesses that she wished for an ordinary life. Strengthened by her sacrifice, the injured warrior orders one final attack. Blue flame consumes him as he pushes beyond the limits of his body. Another famous ancestor arrives to offer the dying clan his proud blessing. The Ren fighters execute the legendary ghost commanders of the vanguard. Their costly success leaves only 3 wounded survivors against the final bosses. Grand General Zhang Wei raises his tremendous weapon over them. A blood-red thrust shatters the field with overwhelming force. It kills the last Ren warriors until a single member stands alone. The enemy tactician begins a final soul-consuming spell to erase the bloodline. A gigantic blue lightning bolt descends and engulfs the battlefield. Lifting both blades, the enemy general declares that the Han dynasty is ended. He swings mercilessly to remove the clan's last descendant. The spirit of founding ancestor Wuxing emerges beside the fallen warrior. He reminds the youth that their cursed family walks a path of endless grief. Even so, each generation must step beyond its dead and continue toward victory. Ren shouts with fury and triggers a quadruple critical combination. His last warrior jumps high with an enormous axe wrapped in blue flame. An ancestral strike cuts through the general's defenses and seems to split the screen. The Shuhan spirits are purified, bringing a legendary and bitterly earned victory. In 266, 6th-generation leader Ren Han enters Luoyang's inner palace. The Jin dynasty is seizing cultivation techniques from across the world to strengthen imperial rule. Knowing he will soon die, Han gives the Chixiao token to his young successors. His soul joins the ancestors and unlocks a major achievement for Ren. The campaign earns a strong score and 36 merit points. Stretching, Ren accepts that this is the best result currently within reach. A new seasonal promotion interrupts his rest. One discounted game casts the player as a Grim Reaper solving puzzles to eliminate targets. Another follows an amnesiac mutant battling through ruined Manhattan. A frantic rescue title promises a reward of 150 merits. Ren agonizes because he desperately needs a new game to occupy his free time. The next morning, his partner taps the car window and wakes him. Outside, they encounter Qiao and her own partner at the same destination. Her case concerns several schoolchildren who disappeared near this unsettling construction project. Ren's investigation involves night workers who died without explanation. Both trails lead to the same unfinished tower. They search its dark concrete skeleton for hours without discovering anything unusual. As the agents prepare to leave, purple mist spills down from above. The entire team agrees that direct supernatural combat lies outside their responsibilities. They hit the accelerator and send their tactical cars sliding away in panic. At the end of the shift, Qiao invites Ren to cultivate at the clubhouse that night. His ignorance of the plan gives her another opportunity to mock his terrible WeChat habits. They arrange to meet later and stop for a quick meal first. The restaurant is an amusing knockoff suspiciously similar to a historically themed KFC. While they eat, Qiao notices Ren's troubled expression and asks what is wrong. He confesses to spending an entire day paralyzed by a gaming choice. Taking a sip, she offers to help him with as much as 500 yuan. Her tears of friendship are determined by how much money she is willing to lose on someone. Ren laughs and asks the assigned value of his driving partner. Qiao dismisses the question and leaves while he calls her a brat. Without warning, she grips her chest as a threatening red glow shines from her heart. Before Ren can respond, Qiao loses consciousness and falls backward. He catches her and frantically calls her name. Her premium defensive equipment cannot block an attack aimed at the soul. Ren carries her toward a hospital specializing in awakened cultivators. Along the way, he reports the unusual spiritual assault to his superior. A doctor at the hospital assures Ren that they know exactly how to treat her. His commander then orders him to assist Team 2 for the time being. Team 2's arrogant deputy captain refuses Ren's help over the phone. This leaves him duty-free and enjoying an unexpected paid holiday. At home, Ren discovers that Xiao's illness brought an unplanned benefit. A new resentment key now rests beside his Windblade key. His phone shows that the game sale ends in 15 minutes. Ren hurriedly compares the distinct advantages of each title. He selects and buys the chaotic Battle Royale rescue game. The old playthrough closes and awards merit techniques. A system message appears as he confirms the purchase. Ren has reached player level 2. 3 appealing new privileges could greatly improve his future income. He carefully estimates which one produces the best return. A 1-point discount would let 10 merit buy 20 items priced at a single point. Having decided, Ren turns to the campaign's completion rewards. His 2-star chest remains locked because he has no matching key. The system offers a synthesis process for combining weaker keys into stronger ones. Ren jokes that a maximum level upgrade would require a mere 300,000 keys. He begins modestly by combining the 2 1-star keys in his possession. The result is a 2-star Wind Blade key that finally opens the chest. Inside is a legendary jade pendant granting the ability to breathe underwater. He also receives Fortify Heart, an exclusive spell that stabilizes a dying person. The art's tragic background touches Ren deeply as he ends the session. The story moves to the polished corridors of Xuan Nation's premier research institute. A researcher with spiked hair welcomes a purple-haired man in a wheelchair. The sickly teacher coughs and asks why his student is neglecting work. The researcher proudly presents a subordinate who has just made a second-turn breakthrough. His wheelchair-bound master dismisses his own astonishing senses as a cripple's little trick. He says goodbye and allows an assistant to wheel him deeper into the institute. The subordinate asks why everyone honors someone who appears so weak. His supervisor reveals the startling truth about the disabled man's identity. The master's power is too great for ordinary people even to perceive. The complete modern cultivation framework was designed around this frail teacher. At high levels, cultivators become living gods capable of surviving nuclear blasts. For the master, this strength is a curse that he must continually restrain. Every 3 hours, doctors remove blood to prevent his body from combusting. Asked for the legend's name, the researcher says it is highly classified. The lonely man has no relatives and is known only by his surname. The researcher struggles to recall the exact name of his mysterious mentor. A game panel displays the renowned Ren lineage that Ren Suo just preserved. At last, the researcher remembers that the world's strongest cultivator is called Ren. Ren Suo is brushing his teeth when his mother calls to impose a blind date. His most frightening mission cannot be refused. At 2 in the afternoon, he waits outside a metro station and sighs at her nagging messages. Two stylish college women approach and ask whether he is senior brother Ren. Mistaking the short-haired one for a male companion, Ren courteously offers his WeChat details. The tomboy laughs and clarifies that she is a classmate, not anyone's boyfriend. Over drinks at a comfortable cafe, Ren gives them vague information about his department. Xia Lingyu then asks about his rare family name and ancestral home. Unaware of its significance, he casually names his hometown as Fofeng. The purple-haired student strikes the table in shock and nearly spills her costly dessert. Her history professor discussed a mysterious Ren clan from the Han dynasty. Records list the Fofeng line as one of the surviving branches of that legendary family. The name Fofeng Ren clan stirs a memory in Ren. Leaning nearer, the purple-haired woman teases him about his celebrated ancestry. He begins connecting his living family to the digital clan. An unexpected overnight shift ends his thoughts and his gaming plans. At the subway, Ren concludes that he probably inherited no magnificent cultivation bloodline. A train screeches into the station before he can finish the thought. Security personnel begin shouting for everyone to evacuate. Ren spots fresh blood sprayed over the train's windows. Passengers stampede through the doors and scream about a madman murdering people. Inside stands a flaming killer over his newest victim. Ren identifies the corrupted aura of a devilish human. Brave but outmatched guards surround the man and order him to surrender. The killer roars back, eyes shining with uncontrolled hatred. His wave of fire throws the officers aside like toys. Turning toward Ren, the burning man attacks with lethal intent. Ren meets his gaze and prepares to bring him down. Physical optimization lets him avoid the blazing strike with ease. Ren equips a combat technique and counters directly into the killer's face. The blow drives the fiery lunatic into the concrete and breaks his momentum. Pinning him down, Ren recognizes nothing more than an untrained rogue cultivator. As Ren restrains the rogue, a system alert reports a key in the area. His newly equipped pendant is drawing the man's corrupted aura into itself. The jade purifies that power and feeds it into Ren's cultivation, leaving him refreshed. Nearby guards gather around an injured colleague and cry out that he is dying. Ren displays his bureau identification and moves in to examine him. The officer is coughing blood and will not survive until an ambulance arrives. Ren equips Fortify Heart and directs the new spell into the man's chest. It stabilizes the grateful guard and pulls him back from death. Ren reports the fire cultivator's subway rampage to the bureau. He then returns to headquarters to finish the turbulent day. In the office, Yu Kwangtu is working late and muttering about the descendants of ancient families. The exhausted director invites him to sit and complains about endless paperwork. Ren's attention drifts toward thoughts of the beautiful high-ranking Yao Fei. Both she and Yu would probably provide extremely useful 2-star keys. Yu abruptly asks whether Ren awakened, citing the guard's impossible recovery. Ren casually accepts full responsibility for the life-saving miracle. He invents an ability that preserves dying people and earns a monthly allowance for it. Impressed by such valuable support, Yu puts him on standby for an approaching assignment. Once dismissed, Ren returns home eager for more gaming. An excited call from his younger sister disrupts that quiet plan. During a hike, she and her roommate saw a hideous, disemboweled creature. Mysterious agents in protective vests defeated it with their bare hands. The women tried to record the fight and were quickly discovered. Officials questioned them for half a day and permanently erased the footage. While recovering over lunch, they found a new upload from the famous game broadcaster. It stars a historical woman named Ren Ying, who looks remarkably like Ren's little sister. She jokes about cosplay while Ren sees his game reflecting his real life. With his curiosity renewed, he finally begins the Battle Royale rescue title. Its introduction depicts prehistoric humanity struggling for survival among savage animals. A gifted few could perform sacred dances that restored the dying. Ancient healers used mystical green power to mend broken bones. In later ages, medieval alchemists brewed radiant medicines for armored knights. Holy priestesses gathered devoted followers by curing illness with divine light. As civilizations advanced, healers acquired increasingly bizarre magical tools. One legendary archer fires arrows of health directly into the injured. A sword maiden uses her slashes to cure disease instead of cutting flesh. The lesson concludes by declaring that healers have always guarded humankind. Ren skips the expensive custom characters and selects the default chubby Zhao Zili. He presses start and enters the game's first trial. His new avatar appears alone on a bleak mountain of solid ice. Looking around, Ren sees a huge gathering of similarly round competitors. A gigantic blue-haired god forms in the sky and announces a divine contest. They will compete for supreme priesthood, but no contestant will be truly harmed. A blizzard covers the snowfield map and greatly reduces visibility. 100 players must distinguish themselves by treating one another with modified healing weapons. Every participant, strangely enough, begins in terrible health. A shrinking curtain of restorative power moves them together and periodically lets them fly. They also receive touch healing so each priest can understand a patient's suffering. With no real danger, competitors relax and examine their floating menus. Ren discovers that an almost empty health gauge fills the avatar with energy. Complete restoration, therefore, means elimination from the game. Studying the map, Ren chooses to land far from the main crowd. A huge blue dragon sails above Zhao Zili as he falls through the air. Another contestant is heading for the same isolated snowbound outpost. Ridiculous white wings open behind both men and slow their descent. Zhao lands running while the rival chases after him. Ignoring calls for a truce, Ren spots an advanced healing rifle on a crate. The breathless pursuer does not yet realize that his target has armed himself. With a desperate grin, he asks why Zhao ran. Ren answers by shooting a beam of green restorative energy into his chest. The frightened opponent appeals for mercy on the grounds of their shared nationality. Ren fires again and claims the first elimination of the match. The healed victim transforms into a muscular winged model and peacefully rises to heaven. Zhao searches the area until he possesses an obscene amount of excellent equipment. The restorative boundary contracts and drives the survivors toward one another. A majestic angel crosses the sky, dropping supply containers into the snow. Ren claims a legendary sniper rifle and a fluffy white camouflage suit. He steals a reindeer sleigh and pursues rivals mounted on polar bears. Through the scope, Zhao sees a winged fighter celebrating her newest elimination. He hides among the drifts and waits for the final 10 contestants to destroy one another. Green healing projectiles rain onto a player concealed in white camouflage. The victim panics as unwanted restoration rapidly fills his gauge. Elimination turns him into another splendid angel drifting toward heaven. Back in the apartment, Ren grinds his teeth at losing to a cheap ambush. A text alert interrupts his gaming anger. His boss requires everyone to watch a popular fantasy program as official research. Ren checks the application and is surprised by the number of episodes already available. More startlingly, its cast contains the historical characters from his earlier campaign. The completed game has altered the real timeline yet again. Ren considers the disturbing bond between simulated victory and actual history. In the finale, an outstretched hand dissolves into blue radiance. The white-haired hero embraces his tragic duty without regret. Schoolgirls everywhere sob over their phones as the season ends. At the same time, a bureau operation searches the scenic heights of Mount Danxia. Its sophisticated scanning pulses disturb only a pair of chirping birds. Beneath the water, oblivious fish swim through the harmless energy. A tiny earthworm moves through the soil unaffected by the search grid. The purple-haired agent sighs because no abnormal spiritual activity has appeared. Comparing the view with his phone, he remains sure that the program used this location. The white-haired legend once stood on this cliff and watched the same sunset. On the Redstone summit, the agent regrets that the region's earth spirit still sleeps. An urgent message over his earpiece interrupts the quiet moment. Armed soldiers at a roadblock are preventing tourists from entering. A scout in the trees reports that desperate visitors are trying to offer bribes. The captain says to ignore them because foreign cultivators have no chance of success. Ren Nizer's videos have already turned the new Holy Land into an international pilgrimage site. The worldwide spiritual resurgence is moving at a frightening speed. Within months, old gods and powerful mountain beings have entered reality. The captain wonders whether the mysterious broadcaster is directing the planet's evolution. Lacking proof, he abandons the theory and watches the splendid sunset. In an advanced laboratory, a scientist gives a file to the purple-haired descendant. It contains profiles of Ren and his much more talented sister, Ren Jingmei. He orders Jingmei monitored but dismisses her brother's miserable potential. Even so, he notices her uncanny similarity to the legendary ancestor in the series. Envious of those free to cultivate, the man bitterly curses his own lineage. Ren, meanwhile, is clicking rapidly at his computer. He has returned to the Divine Battle Royale in search of another win. An opponent on a rooftop begins firing green restorative beams. Ren smiles at how intelligently these NPCs imitate actual human players. He covers the area in thick green smoke and begins the decisive attack. Creeping through the hallways, Ren taunts his rival through the headset. The tattooed camper waits confidently and promises to send him to heaven. Zhao points out that his voice is being transmitted directly into the opponent's mind. Sweating, the camper cannot determine where it originates. Ren runs quietly up the stairs while boasting about his secret art. His rival grows more confused and wonders whether some kind of silencer is involved. Zhao then screams while preparing a healing grenade. The camper recognizes too late that the shouting concealed Ren's footsteps. As he fires blindly, two luminous green grenades roll beside his feet. They detonate in a wave of pure health and give Zhao the victory. Celebrating, Ren declares the enduring superiority of mouse and keyboard. The results grant him a permanent healing improvement named Avalanche. Zhao is moved to a private room containing a bright exit doorway. Beyond it lies a huge public square where contestants rest between challenges. Ren checks his phone and remembers an enormous unfinished work assignment. Simply sharing his advanced game knowledge would attract dangerous suspicion. Then inspiration comes. Voice chat inside a reality-changing game can spread it naturally. Every contestant can become an unwitting messenger who warns the world about future monsters. In the square, confused survivors question reality and discover that their wallet wallets disappeared upon entry. A vast sphere of light dominates the plaza and everyone experiments with it. Moving its radiant symbols aside uncovers a concealed menu. Merit can improve Wind Fury, Rain Veil, and Avalanche for quicker, stronger restoration. Those blessings also enhance the healing shotgun and long-range restorative rifle. Starlight lowers projectile drop, Moonlight shortens reloads, and Sunflare improves penetration. Beside these ordinary benefits, Eternal Blazing Heart Serenity looks absurdly powerful. It grants infrared sight that detects living bodies through walls at increasing range. Passion supplies automatic aiming, bundling perfect recoil, wall vision, and aim assist together. Team Contract allows groups of 2 to 4 to share trials and split the admission price. Survivors begin recruiting partners with 1,000 merit, demonstrating its obvious value. Ren prefers solo farming because divided prizes would slow him despite easy restarts. He searches instead for the private blessing with the best long-term benefit. Before choosing, Zhou notices a faint cross-shaped symbol near Eternal Blazing Heart. Touching it summons Ranger, an enemy agent hidden in Infinite Radiance's Divine Realm. Ranger offers to manipulate the exchange for merit, saying Zhao owns something equally precious. Ren understands that this secret merchant is the game's premium currency store. With only 9 merits, he wisely delays his first divine microtransaction. At work, a colleague asks why Ren has been absent. He says Team 2 intentionally kept him idle as bait for the creature maker. Wei Xiaojun's return exposed the vacation and earned Ren the title of taxpayer-funded parasite. The colleague still compliments his report, polished with extensive borrowing from family documents. She says the deputy director is waiting for him and sends the productive employee upstairs. Ren meets Chao in the hall, already walking normally only 2 days after discharge. The recovery is astonishing after she spent more than an hour close to death. Chao finally thanks him, and Ren modestly says that saving her was part of his job. She invites him to dinner because a rescued life should at least be worth 1 meal. Ren agrees and lets her select the location before continuing to the director. Chao promises something enjoyable with suspicious confidence about his culinary tastes. Now that they are friends, he wonders whether she would willingly accept sweet dreams. Her awakened charm no longer clouds his mind, a welcome change in the system. Ren reaches the deputy director's door and prepares for his newest assignment. Director Yu greets him with an unusual warmth that rarely signals good news in an office. He asks how the supposed power from Chao's rescue has developed. Ren realizes that several days of improvement are expected and begins improvising. He claims the gift is now as easy to activate as picking his nose. Yu mercifully changes the topic and hands him a surprising personnel record. It lists weak apt first aid, Fofeng Ren heritage, and protected municipal status. That status brings patrols, checks on outsiders, and every practical layer of city security. Bureau staff rarely qualify, but Over My Dead Body makes Ren an exception. Yu confirms that the Luoyang clan was real and foreign powers may pursue its heirs. Ren's mediocre potential implies diluted immortal blood, so he must avoid operations for now. Instead, he receives 5 homebound days to produce 20,000 words on Ren Nizer's 3 videos. The enormous number nearly tears the soul from this professional report borrower. Ren nevertheless thanks his secret identity for another assignment away from the office. Xiao arrives at the end of the day and reminds him about their meal. Declaring himself off duty, he escapes before the bureaucracy changes its mind. Xiao glares after the infuriating lifesaver whom she somehow invited to dinner. At 5, Ren completes another long cultivation session and looks annoyingly fresh. An attendant offers drinks, towels, sauna facilities, and restaurant service like a spiritual resort. 5 hours with infinite energy expands his vortex by 10%, exceeding days of bedtime practice. Without an urgent need, however, Ren believes the console still promises greater rewards. Xie Gansai finds him and asks whether online silence indicates another classified assignment. Ren congratulates the newly appointed special action officer and suggests the rest area. Once seated, Xie asks if Ren knows what became of their former roommate Zhao Huo. Hearing that Zhao vanished, Ren asks whether he died. Friendship remains admirably efficient. Xie reminds him that they trained, shared a room, and once restrained their furious teacher together. Privately, Ren admits he was too focused on stealing Chao's key to remember much else. Zhao's excellent 312 aptitude placed him among the camp's 5 finest young talents. Several of those geniuses vanished together, evidently recruited into a secret advanced program. Jie compares average recruits to vocational laborers, useful components with narrow prospects. Fully educated prodigies could later return as prestigious teachers and researchers. He confirms nothing but tells Ren to think carefully if such an opportunity appears. That evening, Ren and Chao share a steaming pot of skewers. She sees his distraction and asks whether he dislikes her restaurant choice. Xiao pleads poverty and defends the inexpensive dinner, while Ren asks about Zhao. She says Chairman Xie regularly brings former teammate members together to cultivate. Correctly reading his fear of educated replacements, she reminds him of seniority and government job security. Universal cultivation is still distant, and university graduates never made vocational workers disappear. Besides, if great power creates great responsibility, little power should create very little responsibility. Ren can pursue historic greatness or coast comfortably to retirement. Both are better than ordinary life. Her comparison to a failed examination finally eases his shame over low aptitude. Besides, small world belongs to him and gaming is his purpose, so envy achieves nothing. Chao then says an awakening at the hospital may soon move her away from Team 3. Her innate spell steadily increases spiritual sensitivity, another term for aptitude, while Ren absorbs the boast. Key Sense reveals that Chow awakened much earlier and deliberately concealed it. She probably waited to see how much special treatment the disclosure could earn. Her key is called Resentment, a conceptual name that hints at the terror beneath her smile. When dinner ends, they step from the crowded skewer shop into the evening glow. Chow asks Ren to accompany her home and tests the basic courtesy of their friendship. He says he needs a shower, choosing the least romantic answer imaginable. In the apartment, Ren discards his uncertainty. Low aptitude and caution offer few paths in reality. Completing Small World is therefore his only route to the priceless touch of healing. On Reload 78, he employs Golden Ranger ahead of the second test. Careful calculation lowers the opening fee and Ranger begins attacking the exchange. The attempt fails, and Ranger kills Zhao immediately under the bargain's unwritten cancellation terms. Ren loads again with greater respect for the deadly nature of this secret deal. During attempt 79, he asks where the promise points actually originate. Ranger says a deity creates hollow cavities inside each contestant's body. Those benign spaces hold divine blessings while the exchange measures and fills them. If stabilization fails, the uncontrolled cavity consumes its owner and causes instant death. The base chance is 50%, increasing by 3% for each extra merit. Additional payment also raises the minimum prize, so Ren saves after every successful risk. 6 merit produces 8,000 points. With completion rewards, that funds 9 blessings. The next arena, Land of Light, looks more like a destroyed modern city. Supplies reappear randomly, with concealed loot and excellent meals inside hazardous search areas. One player finds boxes of fried chicken on a bed because divine logistics answer to no health inspector. Teammates wonder whether these recognizable ruins might exist somewhere on Earth. Taozi asks Brother Shi for a simple scope after he finishes searching upstairs. Their squad believes winning must bring better prizes, though no one knows what happens to the eliminated. One woman asks whether defeated contestants die while her companion chooses ruthless game theory. He says only the final survivor counts, and Taozi goes next door for her promised optic. A concealed attacker hits Brother Shi with healing fire and overloads his health. His released soul rises while a shocked companion watches another friend ascend. The ambusher stalks the ruins and turns medical equipment into aggressive treatment. A survivor detects the danger and warns Taozi about the corner. Ren's fully equipped Zhao has already anticipated her move and holds the ideal angle. Healing rounds catch her before she can shoot back. Full health makes corrupted bodies fall while their spirits slowly pull themselves free. There is little time for rescue and only Taozi remains hidden, but Ren needs surprise. After each elimination, he announces warnings about corpse-born grimace flashbirds. Their wings blind and their attacks create shockwaves, but sound bursts and fire counter them near graveyards or hospitals. Next, he describes soul-scattering iron ghosts, fast-armored corpses with steel flesh and fatal claws. Evil flame spirits control fire through their burned bodies but remain weak against water and weapons. True spirits form when normal objects gather energy, often aiding people and improving the host items. Objects associated with killing may corrupt their owners. Publishing this knowledge early should earn rewards. When one victim fears losing the memory, Zhao promises that the warning will remain. Taozi's last refuge is destroyed, and everyone wonders how the attacker located her. Ren spent 9,000 points to maximize Scorching, exposing all life within 45 meters. He repeats his message for 14-1 survivors and collects another easy win. 3 days later, Director Yu says Ren's protected status will soon be lifted. An impending national shift makes a weakly gifted descendant much less significant. Headquarters was nevertheless impressed by his first report, especially the study of bullet time. It also praised his analysis of Infinite Energy's life cost and the rules binding each champion. Privately, Ren celebrates that inventing a target after shooting the arrow somehow matched reality. Yu believes he belongs in research rather than combat and suggests a possible reassignment. First, Ren must cultivate and complete another strength examination on his final holiday morning. This new age holds endless chances, but only Ren can prove capable of seizing them. After 3 merciless days, he completes Desperate Priest and reaches the results. The campaign pays 99 merit, raising his total to 104, and nearly making the exhausted gamer devout. Touch of Healing emits green light that returns living organisms toward their ideal genetic condition. The description sounds wonderful, but Ren wants proof before trusting another questionable miracle. He shines the light across his torso and wonders what ideal genes look like in practice. Nothing visibly changes and instant abdominal muscles fail to appear. He apparently needs an injury for testing, but stabbing himself seems excessive. Fate supplies the corner of a table and one magnificently wounded little toe. Ren holds the throbbing foot and channels Touch of Healing through his hands. The pain disappears, confirming excellent results on minor injuries. Intense sleepiness follows the successful experiment and reveals an immediate cost. Repairing one tiny toe somehow used enough chi and spirit to nearly flatten him. A full night of gaming had already emptied his reserves before the spell overdrew them. May's free library has refreshed, but Ren cannot stay conscious long enough to examine it. He promises to check after waking and collapses into a well-earned sleep. In the game, Zhao's last score awards Sunblaze and another unexpected point bonus. Three gods call him the best of a million contestants and offer the role of earthly proxy. Outside voice communication is now available, finally letting Ren speak to the divine trio. He accepts and is asked for the avatar's official mortal name. Ren answers Zhao Zili, sensibly excluding his true identity from heavenly administration. The gods bestow endless radiance, 36 laws, and a command to spread their glory. Their representative receives the scepter of life and direct use of healing weapons and blessings. An extraordinary score of 82 unlocks details about the secret strongest priest goal. More hidden material remains, immediately turning his success into another problem. Ren obtains a 2-star chest, but all his contact with Awakeners produced no key for it. May's games include the climbing title he owns and the familiar first chapter of Lurk. Neither is exciting, especially since Lurk appeared in a previous selection. Then Ren remembers that the May Day holiday should include a special promotion. Golden Week offers a lottery of promotional games at 10 merit for each draw. The 30 costly titles include the full 160 merit edition of Over My Dead Body. Tomorrow's bureau assessment may reduce his playtime, so Ren chooses to gamble now. He walks to the bathroom and prepares body and mind for the sacred gacha ritual. Hands and face receive a ruthless cleaning, since probability presumably respects hygiene. He follows with solemn prayers to the controller that would humiliate any real religion. The roulette's fixed jackpot is 10 genuine investment-grade gold bars weighing 100 grams each. Ren nearly floats when he realizes the lottery contains physical gold. 1 kilogram is worth about 1,000,000 yuan, neatly packaging a car, gaming room, and happiness. Beginning with 104 merit, he spends 10 on the first spin. It yields King of Fighters, a discounted combat game with 200 merits and martial arts master. Next comes Giant Leviathan, a 3-star evolution sandbox with 250 merits and re-evolution. Only 2 spins remain, and Ren leans toward the roulette as if pursued by creditors. Its pattern convinces him that the next reward will finally be extraordinary. Giant Leviathan appears a second time, proving Divine Casino's recycled disappointment too. Duplicate protection permits either another spin or an unpredictable upgrade. Ren selects the upgrade, reasoning that 2 identical results must conceal something special. The console fuses both games while spiraling energy tears dramatically through the room. It creates Spirit that Devours the World, where creatures evolve by consuming spiritual entities. The 3-star plus scale and super evolution rewards settle his choice. Remaining merit is saved. The next morning, Ren reports to the city bureau for his assessment. Yu welcomes him with an enthusiastic Extinction Stardust punch and offers him a seat. Ren recognizes the move from recent Over My Dead Body episodes and admires his progress. Because the examiners are delayed, they keep watching the historical show together. Yu asks whether the ending is near, giving Ren a chance to promote his analytical talent. Ren predicts either a finale within days or enough material to outlive several streaming subscriptions. Asked for evidence, he reconstructs possible outcomes from the known historical direction. The series may finish when Shu or Wu falls and the Central Plains become stable. If the clan fails, later chaos could extend the story, an argument Yu respects. A phone call finally reports that the examiners are waiting downstairs. Director Yu ends their discussion and takes Ren to the next round of evaluation. 2 researchers hope his rare healing affinity justifies moving their equipment again. They doubt his weak aptitude and neglected Vortex Meet Academy requirements, but let him try. One hands over a Dharma network device and expects him to remember how it works. Since the standard quota is exhausted, Ren receives the second turn spell Heal. She cuts a shallow wound into a white mouse and orders him to repair it completely. Ren secretly equips Touch of Healing, choosing certainty when his future job is at stake. The wound disappears at once, surpassing Heal and earning a top life affinity classification. Yu celebrates while Ren privately credits the exclusive game ability. Curious about the enthusiasm, he asks what position the medical test concerned. Lianzhong will open a new academy for cultivators within a week. It will serve 6 secondary grade levels, with cultivation majors planned for universities. Dangerous combat practice makes a healer far more urgent than another motivational poster. Fewer than 10 second-turn cultivators live locally, and life specialists already work on dangerous front lines. Ren pictures light medical duties, excellent practice facilities, and uninterrupted gaming. He retains his bureau post, receives double pay and housing, but stays on call at all times. 2 salaries, rich spiritual energy, and a private dormitory make the answer easy. The benefits depend on meeting research targets related to Over My Dead Body techniques. His broader task is to study each Ren-nizer upload and identify its unknown creator. Ren can provide authentic clues while displaying professional ignorance whenever needed. Yu places substantial confidence in him, and Ren promises worthwhile results. With 1 week before opening, Ren packs and tells his uncle to advertise the apartment again. His mother hears of the reassignment and immediately questions the housing and generous conditions. Government accommodation delights her marriage planning instincts before she asks whether cultivation brings immortality. A neighbor's accepted child is now apparently a socialist immortal, ending maternal disbelief. Ren checks on his parents, who exercise regularly and report no lasting illnesses. His sister mentions an overweight missing classmate who returned half an hour later thin, energetic, and healthy. Relieved that she is safe, Ren recognizes another effect of the Desperate Priest contest. The player screen shows that personally acquired techniques can be equipped without more practice. Heal works independently of Touch of Healing and secures his conveniently obtained academy post. Foreign media reports that a disabled obese groom disappeared from his own wedding. He returned an hour later healed and handsome, describing a divine test while commenters called it fake. People vanished simultaneously worldwide and came back with the same story. These synchronized events prove that Ren's game has rewritten reality once again. Following several failed starts, he reloads Spirit that devours the world with a better plan. Starting advantages cost merit, while random birth is free and therefore irresistible. The randomizer places his creature somewhere in the vast Cheon nation. Its birthplace narrows to the southwestern mountains, distant from civilization. Ren begins as a pangolin and immediately receives an evolution choice. Its limited attributes include burrow, useful for tunneling through normal earth. Armor produces a reusable defensive barrier capable of absorbing 5 damage. Endurance triples the protection, but each recharge causes wounds and a long recovery. Tear turns injuries into stronger abilities, ideally suiting Ren's reckless leveling strategy. He picks Tear and admires the pangolin's climbing, swimming, digging, and dangerous bite. Before celebrating the armored hero, he still needs points for another evolution. Without gluttony, spiders are inedible, making insects food and larger creatures experience. Each kill provides evolution points and turns the quiet forest into a farming zone. 3 hours later, Ren's pangolin has become a small ecological catastrophe with impressive growth. It defeats a solitary monkey, suffers moderate wounds, and fills the evolution meter. Omnivore and armament appear, weighing immediate survival against future defense. Ren studies the cards while the wounded creature awaits its biological update. Flexible eating will matter later, so he chooses gluttony despite slower digestion. The evolution produces a larger and fiercer pangolin with sharpened natural weapons. Night arrives, and the injured predator eats monkey meat while recovering. Ren skips 12 hours as digestion and wounds reduce all combat statistics. Once healed, it reaches 27 combat power, still nowhere near the world's peak. Earlier creatures developed too slowly and occasionally became research subjects, a humiliating failure. Ren leaves the plain forest in search of spiritual objects within populated territory. Director Yu sends supernatural intelligence and asks for a reliability assessment within 1 day. It describes many strange creatures, showing that the divine trials already released useful knowledge. Ren recognizes his own Grimace Flashbird warnings from Zhao's Desperate Priest matches. Expanding these simplified descriptions offers an easy research subject with credible findings. In the game, Tear and Gluttony strengthen the pangolin through injury, meals, and healing. Once local prey is gone, Ren guides the armored stomach toward a human settlement. From the terrain, he estimates that it wanders within Jingnan province. The creature soon reaches a highway and finds an overturned car beside an injured driver. He lies unconscious and bleeding, turning exploration into a rescue. The pangolin pulls him from the wreck with excellent care for a prehistoric-looking tank. Heal fails because the animal has no chi vortex with which to cast it. Ren uses its power to draw spiritual energy through physical contact instead. The creature extracts energy from the driver, hopefully without charging his insurance. The huge quantity surprises Ren. Humans contain far more than forest animals. Overflowing power fills the meter and presents several strong biological improvements. Searching for better targets, Ren selects Spirit Vision over immediate combat strength. A dedicated command activates the skill and replaces normal sight with energy detection. The colorless world now highlights empowered objects like supernatural evidence. The driver contains only traces, and his conscious resistance must be erased before absorption. His aged vest and ancient socks offer even less despite their historic odor. The jade pendant contains nothing, but years of use make it likely to enhance Spirit Vision. An old 100 yuan note holds enough value to fill the meter as premium evolution currency. Ren calls emergency services on the driver's phone and then advances toward the city. An hour later, the pangolin sneaks into the ambulance when medics collect the survivor. It hides under a desk inside and fast-forwards through the 2-hour trip. Once the hospital quiets, the armored infiltrator escapes to plan its next action. A nearby middle school offers old objects and cafeteria food, but traffic blocks the way. Ren reviews the evolution menu for an upgrade that can solve the crossing problem. Armament supplies a barrier and improves that defense during the next evolution. After Image produces a short burst of speed followed by fatigue, ideal for crossing traffic. The pangolin activates it and becomes an armored blur before drivers can react. It reaches school grounds safely through the world's strangest enrollment process. Before hunting for relics, Ren notices students surrounding a frightened younger boy. The bullies call him Orphan Liang and demand money, displaying early talent for organized stupidity. Guo Liang offers the last of his breakfast funds, but they want much more. They take his bank card and threaten to call his mother for the code. Finding nothing else, the group goes to fetch its leader while Huo remains shaken. Burrow can remove the evidence later, so Ren sees little lasting danger in intervening. He refuses to tolerate threats against family and sends the pangolin into its first lesson. The creature batters the bullies as frightened students repeatedly call it a giant rat. Ren cannot believe today's children fail to recognize a pangolin during such an educational beating. Spirit Vision highlights a floor tile in the women's restroom with 14 years of accumulated history. It contains more energy than any previous object, so the pangolin digs for the glorious treasure. Minutes later, the tile is free and ready for a 13-hour absorption period. Approaching footsteps accompany Huo's warning that the strange animal is inside. As teachers and guards close in, Ren considers dropping the tile and using after-image to flee. Instead, Huo repays his rescue by placing both Tile and Pangolin in his backpack. He tells security that the large animal entered a sewer, then quietly leaves the campus. Half an hour later, the Pangolin wakes in Huo's home beside the freshly cleaned Tile. Its energy survives, although washing removes the highly accurate dirty label. Huo introduces himself, thanks the creature, and asks whether it is a legendary spirit beast. Ren realizes that no public announcement about such animals should exist yet. Huo has a congenital heart disease that forces his overworked mother to pay for constant care. Poor aptitude kept him out of the academy, whose opening has apparently already occurred in this timeline. Completing the game may reveal future events and turn play into supernatural intelligence work. As the pangolin prepares to depart, Huo calls it back with one last question. Ren looks for the exact date, only to find the calendar conveniently censored. Guessing May is useless, destroying his hopes for lottery profits and easy knowledge of the future. Huo asks the pangolin to teach him strength and volunteers to become its provider. He even offers to make it his divine beast, clear evidence of excessive novel reading. The controlled animal answers that heroic fantasy with one splendidly weary silence. Spirit Vision then directs its gaze to a normal bulb above them. Huo thinks the creature wants the light bulb and immediately offers it. The pangolin looks higher until his attention shifts toward the base of the lamp. Decades of use have stored energy there, along with potential elemental and exorcism evolutions. Certain that the beast can empower him, Huo eagerly waits for supernatural teaching. Ren accepts the gift and hopes one successful playthrough will earn a strong score. On May 6th, he reaches Tianlian Academy, a suitably grand name for its cultivation mission. Director used teacher credentials secure admission, and guards direct him to the residence. Room 402 has 2 bedrooms and complete furnishings, surprisingly lavish for one instructor. Once settled, Ren conceals the wireless console within the furniture. Near noon, he plans to survey the local restaurants and celebrate his move. A call interrupts before lunch can become his finest research project of the day. Yu verifies that the internet works, then requests an unexplained list by tomorrow. A fresh Ren Suza release moves the deadline to tonight, and the Bureau needs Ren's recommendations. Unprepared but professionally trapped, he accepts the urgent task and promises delivery. The channel contains a Desperate Priest prequel instead of the expected sequel. At 160 minutes, it is longer than his first 2 trials combined. 3 gods say winners receive blessings while losers return healed and suffer no financial loss. Rather than one story, the recording collects highlights from 156 numbered participants. Contestant 87 asks a deity to shoot him, mixing courageous faith with poor survival sense. Zhao appears in the montage but does little beyond requesting forceful divine assistance. The ending opens a public vote and promises one recovery package to a fortunate correct prediction. Ren understands Yu's haste. The Bureau wants analysis for officially sanctioned supernatural gambling. His secret objective requires identifying the strongest priest, explaining the global prediction campaign. Unable to name Zhao alone, he picks 2 decoys and covers all 3 in persuasive praise. After finishing, Ren schedules the report for 11 so its timestamp demonstrates proper dedication. He next enters the National Cultivator intranet, which begins authentication with a familiar song. A webcam, microphone, and lyric check confirm his identity with advanced security. The network registers researcher Suo and automatically assigns him to special phenomena. Its most popular thread asks why all 3 apparent gods speak Mandarin, conveniently Ren's only language. Experts suggest ancient Xuan immortals or production constraints, turning speculation into a professional discipline. Another theory proposes a hidden group invading Xuan Nation and nearly persuades the group's secret creator. With nothing useful to add, Ren leaves the forum's points and rewards for later study. He examines the apartment's cultivation equipment before returning to Spirit that Devours the World. A controllable energy unit starts at the modest concentration of 2.3. Ren increases the setting until the display quickly reaches 18.9. Spiritual energy becomes visible within the room, surpassing his cautious expectations. 3 hours later, he confirms excellent results, though a monthly quota restricts the device. Thinking of the pangolin, Ren wishes he could consume energy and evolve beyond the game.